Yes, hello, welcome. It's Friday. It is Friday. It is 4 p.m. and I am back with the wonderful Brian Dagul from Tottenham on Tour for Savva Dagul, the Friday Huddle. Mr. Dagul, how are you?
Yep.
How did it feel to be back on Tottenham on Tour yesterday?
Yeah, Joe, it was good. It's like obviously for reasons but I'm not getting into. We had to take a bit of a break because of issues that were happening around myself. But now they're all clear. It's getting back into the streaming world, and it's good because obviously I'm on the same time zone as Ben, Danny, Ryan, my partner Brian Ireland in Canada. It's just easier doing a lot of stuff here when you're on the same time zone. And it's not like I've had to scratch deep to try and find any content, is it? Especially with my allegiance. The content, it's like manna from heaven. It's like big up our green. It's manna from heaven, unfortunately. But yeah, it's good. It's good. It's always good to spend time with you, Savva, and everyone in the chat.
Always. Eunice, I'll send the link later. Let me and Brian just have our chat first, and then I'll send the link. First of all, welcome to everyone in the chat. We're starting to get a lot of traction, not just on Savva Talks Football, just in general in the YouTube world. Football is back. The World Cup's over. It's nearly a new year, and we still want Enoch and Levy out. Brian, what a time to be alive. The headline, the headline today was Paul O'Keefe saying that Tottenham Hotspur will have 30 million pounds, 30 million sterling to spend in this transfer window. All the while, Brian, Man U are looking at João Felix. Chelsea are looking to tie up a deal for Fernandes of Benfica at 105 million. Liverpool are looking at tying up a deal for Casado, and they've already bought Gakpo. Arsenal deep in talks with Shakhtar about Mudryk, anywhere between 40 and 80, depending on what deal they come to. But we've got 30 million to spend. My first question to you, Mr. Dagul, where's the money?
Oh, do you know what? The funniest thing I have said, also, I've just seen Pyrex King is in the chat. I just want to say, Pyrex King, sorry we didn't get you on Tottenham on Tour yesterday. We had a load of people calling in. I do want to get you on one day, my brother. So we need to reach out via social media somewhere. Reach out to me, direct message or whatever. We'll sort that. Top guy in an Arsenal. Do you know what? I'm loving in this. I'll get back to Levy. What I am loving with this is we come back from the World Cup. Yeah, you've got your odd troll that will go on about Arsenal, Chelsea, West Ham, but you've got a lot of people in this chat here and other chats that are actually communicating with each other correctly and actually having a discussion. Not I'm better than you, you're better than me, we got more money. It's actually refreshing to see for once. But back to things that aren't refreshing and just straight up fucking delusional. So big up, Junior. You look at it. The tension has been growing like I've never seen it, and I've been a big part in obviously people protesting with the NFL, with the people that I'm with, the training ground, and all the other things that we do, which is a fantastic group, and we've been there from the start. And I may be the person that gets on the camera all the time from said group, but the work these guys do behind the scenes, organising, they are incredible and phenomenal. But like I said, tension building, everything rising, and it's just raining when it pours. Petrol on the fire is gathering and gathering and gathering. And then today, like I said, I was live on We Are Tottenham TV, and then you heard that quote from Paul O'Keefe. Big up, Tony, and Graham, my man. You look at it, and like I said, I'm no Carol fucking Vorderman or Rachel Riley. But if you look at it,
you leave the quick maths and the Carol Vorderman to me.
Exactly. Right? So you do the maths here. So 150 million invested in August.
Yeah.
You withdraw 100 during August to December. You have concerts, you have boxing, you have NFL. Then you've still got 50 million pounds. So sorry, 150 minus 100. 50. But in the great businessman's eyes, 30 million plus sales. And people say we're going to go get Porro but we have to match his release fee is 39.6 million. Well, apparently we don't even have that.
It's truly baffling. Listen, as always, I'll always say this on my shows whenever I'm chatting to people. Look, they are just reports, right? I mean, if we believed everything we read, the world wouldn't be a great place. But this does sound very Tottenham, doesn't it? And I can't believe if there is only £30 million to spend. And I know that sounds really strange because £30 million is a lot of money, and I would definitely retire if I had £30 million. But in the world of football, when you're looking at Liverpool have just whacked 35 million on Gakpo. Now, let's put this in perspective, Brian. This is a Liverpool team that already up top have Luis Diaz, Mo Salah, Nunes, Firmino, Fabio Carvalho, right? They've just gone and bought Gakpo as well.
Yep.
And yet we've got £30 million. What does 30 million get you? Who are we buying for 30 million that's going to change our club?
Well, let's the 30 million buys recently. You look at an Emerson Royale. You can flip it and say Rodrigo Bentancur for 19.
Come on, let's buy another Emerson Royale.
Yeah, I mean, but like you said, what you got to look at as well. And this is what I said, and I keep saying this. I know that a lot of the transfer speculation is just a media frenzy and a media circus.
Of course.
And I may retweet it and go, "What the hell are we doing?" Blah 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 blah, and say Levy out, Enoch out. But I know a lot of that is clickbait, whatever. But when it comes to the finances and being lied to, there is no smoke without fire. Such a great thing. And there is no smoke without fire when it comes to this, man. And like I said, I'm tired of hearing, you got to be patient, but this manager is going to be different this time. I've heard it with Conte, Jose, Poch, AVB, Harry, Yol.
Yeah.
So, you know, and
it'll be different.
I've heard this story regurgitated every time. Oh, there's going to be money for the manager. We're going to do what's best for the manager. We're going to bring in what the manager does. We're going to buy into, and it's big up, Steve. And it's just got to the point where it's just laughable. And the thing is, if you tell me Levy had said something, or this comes out, do I believe that we're going to try and get Bastoni? No. Do I believe when I hear a financial report that Daniel Levy says all of a sudden there's only 30 million? Oh, 100%. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I mean, meanwhile, big up, Dave. Hope you're well. Sorry, David. I just assume everyone likes being called Dave, who's David, but maybe not. We smashed the transfer fee record in the women's game. So, listen, small wins and all that. Look, let's call it as it is. This squad needs major surgery. And 30 million for me, listen, I think what we're guilty of, what we do a lot is we go, oh, but Bentancur was this. Kulusevski was only this. Yep. But how often do they happen? How many of the top clubs do you look at their buys and go, peanuts? Like, let's be really, really honest. Look at Man United. Look at the 4 players they've got that have completely changed them. And they're a different United now who I'm worried about. Anthony was what, 90 million? 85 million. I think Casemiro was, again, this rough, I think it was 55, 60. Martinez at the back was 45, 50. Ericsson was on a free, but how many Chelsea, when you look at the players they buy, how many of these clubs spend less than 30 million on a player and he goes in and transforms them? I just don't understand what we're looking to achieve. I don't understand this. I don't understand at all what we're hoping to do. And let's be fair, if you give Conte 30 million, right? Again, I'll say this. I don't care how much money he's earning. Walk away. Walk away and show these owners for what they are.
So one thing we've got to address as well is this word patience that keeps coming up. And it takes patience and this to get the players in. Did Newcastle need patience without them flexing their muscles? Seriously. And I mean seriously. These Chelsea owners have come in and, it's going to take time. They're not going to be like Abramovich. They're going to need to reset and do it. Have they needed patience? And not only have they not needed patience, they're now trusting a manager who has dealt with players at Brighton, Swansea, and Ostersons, to now deal with like £100 million players. That's backing the manager and believing the manager.
Yeah.
And when people say, "Oh, Man U, they're a financial juggernaut. They can do whatever whatever they want. They make so much money." Well, we're the only football team in the country that's actually using their stadium as a multi-purpose stadium.
Yeah.
That is having loads of different events done. Everything going on. We have a huge sponsorship with the NFL.
Yeah. Sorry,
commercial,
I got Yotta. Sorry, mate.
The commercial revenue that's coming in. You talk about Liverpool and their forwards. This whole talk of Bentancur, the injuries worse than first feared. I literally see Ollie Skip's injury time period written all over it. I think we might not be seeing Bentancur for a long, long time, unfortunately.
I'm hearing from a few people at people I know that know people in the club that that this injury is worse than expected. So I mean, but what the thing is, if that happens to a Chelsea or if they go out and buy,
I said before the World Cup. I said this before the World Cup, and I can't remember what channel. It might even been on your server. I said other teams will come back from the World Cup, being Arsenal, or Chelsea, or Man U, or Man City, if they get bigger rooms. If they get an injury, they'll deal with the injury and cover what they need to do to pursue where they're going. If we get an injury, we'll address the injury. And if this injury is as bad, if this is as big up, Eddie, if this is as bad as feared, then that's sorting defence out. We're going to need to address another midfielder because I don't care what anyone says. Bissouma in a 2 looks absolutely woeful. And who else are you going to play? Skip, Sarr? That midfield becomes very, 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 very depleted. The defence depleted. You look at Liverpool's forward line you just listed, and with and obviously Jota we forgot. We've got Richarlison out, so we're now Kane, Kulusevski, and the next one is Brian Hill. Or Lucas Moura, who's injured and is pissing back off to Brazil.
Just imagine, Brian, right? Just imagine that I'll just pick 3 names at random. Imagine you start a game with Nunez, Salah, and Luis Diaz. And you think to yourself, this isn't working. I know what we'll do. We'll bring on Jota, Gakpo, and Firmino. I mean, and then all the young, they've got some wonderful talent coming through there. Harvey Elliott, Fabio Carvalho, that young guy that came on the other day. They're talking about Liverpool being a big star. But
Liverpool have always brought you through. Always. Gerrard, Owen, Fowler, McManaman, Carragher. You can go on and on.
And I don't know if you've just seen in the last 20 minutes, Fabrizio Romano has announced that Man City are signing another talent from Vélez, who I believe are in Argentina. A young talent called Maximo Perrone for $8 million. And he said this is a player for the future. He's considered a huge talent. And let's be honest, every time they do this, they turn out to be brilliant.
Yeah, so it's not even the case of when they do this. They bring youth in after buying a Haaland. They bring in world class, elite, top draw players.
Yep.
And then say, right, we're going to invest a bit in our future. We don't do that. And when people go, I've seen people already, not in this chat, but when we were talking top, but Liverpool got Gabco for £30 million, so the players are there. No. But I'm like, do you know what? They've got that deal done. But if Jurgen Klopp identifies a player that he sees at 65 million, Liverpool will go and pay that. Liverpool go, okay, here you go, Klopp, bang, there you go.
Yeah. Big up XOG Low, XOGX Low. Big yourself up. Thank you for the super chat. Big up to Savva and Dagul, the Tottenham Truth. We try our best. I mean, the crazy thing about it is, you know, somebody said here that Arsenal have announced 40 million in financial losses, but they're still spending in the market. And it goes to show, doesn't it? Their owners now, all right, with a bit of persuasion, have now realised that to keep the fan base on side, you have to go and try and win things. And I'm not saying they've won anything yet, but mate, they're making moves. Chelsea making moves. Man United. If Man United get Yao Felix for 8 million on loan, 8 million on loan, we're talking a top footballer. Where are we? Where's Paratici with these deals?
I've got the point, Savva, and I've said to a few people in the Leave Out group I'm with. I've said to a few people. I think I've even said it on multiple channels. It's getting to the point now. What has started fueling this fire is obviously Gapco coming in, and then all these big, like everyone making their moves, and we're still here talking about Conte's contract, Kane's contract. It's got to the point now where this is happening. I've got more faith in the bigger teams and Newcastle. I'm going to put Newcastle in that bracket because they deserve to be. They are going to start strengthening seriously. And that's what it's going to take for people to go, well, wait a minute. What's happening here? It's going to take time for people to buy players that will bring immediate quality to the squad that they go to play for, that will come into that team, add depth, or even walk into that starting lineup, and will take them to the next level. Right now, if the games in hand are won, we're out of the top 4. We've got some very, very big games. We'll be out of the top 6 very, very soon. If it's status quo as we are.
I hear you. We'll come back to that in 1 second. Just quickly, reload. Yeah. Listen, I know I said about getting Kessie and is not what we need. If the injury to Bentancur is bad, brilliant. Bring in Kessie, but that can't be the only signing, right? That's my point. If you're bringing in Frank Kessie, cool. I've got no issues with it. But it can't be we've signed Kessie, no one else, and everyone goes, oh, look, well, we moved. You've got to be bringing in positions you need. Going back to what you said, Brian.
Can I say, before you do that, just over Frank Kessie, there's been no bid.
Oh, I don't.
Sky Sports would be reporting it'd be moving. This is Daniel Levy deflection tactics. Do you know what? There's a lot of heat on me. Let's put in a fake bid for someone that's turned us down to go to Barcelona, like a Rabiot has done many a time. Let's just put a name out there who's got class about him. We're not getting him. And even when I did the report with We Are Tottenham TV yesterday, the agent even said, or the source that broke it, that Ben read it out, the player wants to stay in Barcelona and the manager doesn't want to sell him.
Yeah.
Carry on putting on. It's typical. Let's put in 50. Joe, I'm going to put a £50 million bid in for Haaland. At least I bid for him.
Yeah. It's mad. Going back to what you were saying as well. If I look at the Premier League table, right? You've got Liverpool playing tonight. Their game in hand on us, home to Leicester. You would think this is a Leicester team that just got beaten 3-0 by Newcastle at home. You would think Liverpool will win that. And then for all that talk of Liverpool finished, Liverpool dusted, they're slowly but surely starting to find their feet again, Brian. And fair play to them. They buy. They're trying to reinvent themselves. And I know Spurs fans, we never understand this because we want to keep Kane and Son until they're 105 and play them in a front three, right? Liverpool have lost Mane. They've gone for different. They've gone for Diaz. They've gone for Nunes. Yeah? It's going to take time. I said at the beginning of the season, it might be a bit ropey for them at first, but I truly believe they will. I truly believe they'll finish second or third. I have no doubt when you look at the quality in that squad, and you think this is a Liverpool team that has not played well all season, and they'll be 2 points behind us tonight if they win. 2 points behind. You've got Man United. If they win their game in hand on us, they go above us. You've got Man City and Arsenal who have got a game in hand on us and are already 5 and 10 points ahead of us, respectively. I genuinely think this top 4. I said at the beginning, I think we'll get it because of our goal power. I'm really, really starting to think I'm wrong on that. I really think that this is going to be a dogfight for the top 6.
I'm completely there with you. I'm completely there with you. I'm done. I said before the World Cup when can't remember what game it was before the World Cup where we didn't get a good performance. Don't worry, this guy. This is this.
I've heard a few people saying if I don't agree, I block. I've not blocked anyone.
Listen. They do this for you to talk about that, just like the guy that's in there saying it's an echo chamber, yet he's still here listening. So he's obviously wanting to hear the echo, So crack on. Where was I going with that? This is a Liverpool that have had their worst start to the Premier League in recent history.
Yeah.
They win their game. They're 2 points behind us, and they're strengthening. There are Manchester United, like you said. Listen, it's not good. It is not good. And you know what? You think right now, with all this drama, all this, put in an official bid for someone. Shut people up.
Yeah.
Shut people up and say, do you know what? Spurs officially put in a bid for Hincapié. Spurs put an official bid in for any of the targets we're going for. And it's all well and good. We spoke at We Are Tottenham TV. Apparently Spurs are open to offers for Emerson. Who's going to offer to buy him? And then the fee that Daniel Levy quotes. And then you get rid. Who's going out of this squad? We've done so shit with buying. We can't even get money for our players. We have to send them out on loan. People that cost millions of pounds, we can't get rid of them. They have to go on loan and have an obligation or an option or we're sick. So it's just ridiculous. And you need people need to wake up. And people are. I saw a comment in there from someone. I can't remember who it was, but it was right. Let me saying, "Oh, it was Savvy," or the one that looks like your name, but it's Savvy. Or say, "Have you noticed a change in the?" That's the one. Yeah, and I have. In the last 48 hours, there has been a big shift. A big shift.
Yeah, I feel we're starting to see it. It's look, at the end of the day, I said all along. By the way, I'm seeing lots of people saying that, if somebody likes Levy, I attack them. I don't attack them. If you like Levy, I'm cool with that. If you like Levy and Enoch, I am cool with that. But don't ever dare tell me you want success if you back the current regime. They have demonstrated for 22 years, nearly a quarter of a century, they have demonstrated what they are in this for.
Sorry, David, you just reminded me. So before you say that, there's something I really need to address, and I did it on my show yesterday, and I didn't mention the guy's name, but someone put a super chat with his name in there. People talk about Levy outers being aggressive, verbally attacking people. And don't get me right, there are some out there that do it, which I don't stand by. I don't tolerate. I don't do it myself. I won't do it myself. But apparently it's all coming from one side. It's all the Levy outers. Levy outers are just so vile. We're so rude. I put a tweet out yesterday, and one of my very, very good friends, Rachel, who again is part of my group, put something in. And a guy, I'll quote the tweet, but I'm not going to find it again, literally went on to say, get back into the kitchen or such and forth. And if you don't do what you're told, I know your husband beats the shit out of you. And you keep going every single day like you're going to pretend that it's going to change, but it doesn't. So I went after him and said, what the hell is wrong with you? Then another friend got attacked by the same person because of his sexuality. And it's become a whole big thing on my thread. And people that watched the show yesterday will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So when people say anyone that's Levy out or Levy in, we don't get on. I've said it a billion times. Savva said it a billion times. I know a lot of people said it a billion times. Listen, it's your opinion. You're entitled to it, and I respect it. I categorically don't agree with you, but I don't personally attack you.
Yeah,
it's got to stop.
Yeah, I listen. Look, at the end of the day, I had this chat. I always have this chat with Dave, the Irish Hotspur, and that, and he's like, well, how do you expect to get people to join you in the kind of Enoch and Levy out parade if you are saying these things about people that are Enoch and Levy in? And I'm like, well, look, it's not my job. I don't care. I simply don't care. I shouldn't have to tell anyone that has got an ounce of ambition for their football club what these owners do. I hear people all the time that come out with, judge the window when it closes. Problem is, We judge the window when it closes, and then the automatic follow on from judge the window when it closes is, well, next window is going to be the window. It's the same strap lines, the same clutch lines people use, Brian, year in, year out. Year in, year out, we're doing the same thing. They're the same people that say we're 1 or 2 players short of challenging. It's like, do they truly believe we're just 1 or 2 players short? I don't understand what people are looking at and how they're not seeing history.
Do you know as well? What I'm not understanding as well, and it needs to be spoken about, and it sparked my memory with a very good friend of mine, Adrian Shocker, putting in there. He's speaking about the stadium, spaceship. But you look at it, there's never been a football team or a sporting team that go into a new stadium saying they want naming rights that haven't got naming rights from before they went in, let alone this long. And everyone will say, oh, but COVID. It happened to every Premier League team. It happened to every football team around the world.
Exactly.
Listen, COVID was a horrible and awful time for all of us. People lost their lives. I almost lost my best mate. But it's enough of an excuse. It's over with. Every single club, every single family around the world was affected with it or knows someone that was affected with it. It's no longer an excuse in football. We hired, and again, we made a whole big thing about signing this guy Klein from America, and I know him not personally, but I know of him personally from living in Canada, and he has put together the biggest naming rights in American football history, or some of the biggest. Sorry, my bad. And it's cricket's here. This guy must come to work and just put his feet up and go, right, what should I do today? We don't know if he's presenting names and bids to or sourcing out people, but he's sitting there. You've brought in a specialist to do this, and he is special because he has brokered the biggest deals or some of the biggest deals in American sporting history. Yeah, here we are. I think it's been here 2 years now. 2 years. And out of it, we've had Dulux Paint become our official paint. We have had Molten Brown extend their contract to be our official toiletries. We've had Duxania become our official bed. We've had Erroneous Grenadier become our official 4x4. That 4x4 company,
what is that?
oil guzzling pollution machine, and oil exactly. Obviously because Tottenham, you got a lot of off road going on the North Circuit. You go off road a lot, so you need a 4x4. But this comes a year after absolutely creaming your pants over having the absolutely thank you very much, Mark buddy. Me, Rachel, and a load of us are going absolutely mental. If anyone sees anything Levy out, Enoch out, just absolutely retweet the shit out of it. But yeah, this sponsorship for the 4x4, it is owned by Jim Ratcliffe, one of, if not the richest man in the United Kingdom. And you haven't thought to say, do you know what? How about you put your name on there? But also, just to contradict ourselves, let's go back a year. Can't remember what football match it was, but I think it might have been Spurs Liverpool. We're all going to cream our pants and get excited because let's make a big thing on Sky Sports News because we're going to be the first football game that has a zero carbon footprint, zero emissions, recycled packaging. And let's all do that. And then within a year, let's sell out for the money so we can have a bit more money come into the club and these new revenue streams that go into Levy and Enoch's pocket and building the next property.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I've seen a lot of people in the chat, Brian, talking about protests and talking about movements. As Brian has said many times before, we're working on things behind the scenes. It's not going to be announced immediately. It will happen though. But the thing is, it's got to be one of those things where, look, we've got 230 people in this chat at the moment. Small fry, right? In terms of the wider fan base. But when I go into your shows, when I go into Tottenham Away, when I go into Henry Wright's, when I go into all these shows and I'm seeing these people pissed off about Enoch and Levy, they've got to join. They've got to be involved in that when those things happen. You know, it's got to be a protest at the ground, at the training ground. It's got to be banners. It's got to be social media awareness, spreading the word. So what
I need to talk about that as well. I need to talk about the great group that I am proud to be a part of. And not only am I proud because we all have the same passion for Spurs and the same passion to get this parasite out, but with me living in Toronto and them all being here, these people who I didn't know from Adam before this have welcomed me with open arms like a family. But we look after each other, whether it be just someone to talk to because someone's having a bad day or whatever it may be. I stand proud with every single one of them. But what they have done is, obviously, I came back and met them all for the first time at the NFL protest. Now, there's a group of them there. And the numbers, I'll tell you now, that we've all been unhappy with the numbers that came to that one. But there are people that have stood outside that ground, haven't even gone to the game. There are people from that group that have travelled from Portsmouth every home game just to stand outside the ground with an Enoch out banner or the placards or the flags that we have and do their bit. And then when we're standing out there, people came over and talked to us, people did whatever, but so many people wanted to take a photo with the scarf, with the banners, with the placards, whatever. Now, whether that was for trolling, whether that was because they were genuine, they want to put it on their social media, all fine, do that. Get the message out there. I don't care if you're trolling or not. There are people that have stood there for hours upon hours on end that don't even go to the game, and literally will do it. They don't go to. They go to. A lot of them go to the away games now. They won't step foot in the ground. They won't step foot in that ground, but they won't stop supporting Spurs, like myself. But I will go into the ground, mainly to shout out "Leave Europe." Won't say the next word. So the numbers were not good. But then you hear so many people going, "Leave you out." And I keep saying this, and I say this to every single time. I know everyone can't get there. I understand that. I'm not saying it's all. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you can get there, and you do feel this way, you've got to try and get there, whether it's for 5 minutes or 5 hours. When I did the training ground protest with Graham, who's in the chat, and Ryan, me and Ryan most days were there at 6 a.m. in the morning and didn't leave till like 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. That's what we were doing. We're standing out in the cold in January, and people who know where the training ground is, it's not like there's any food places around there. There's not. Someone actually messaged We Are Tottenham TV to get my details, and for the last few days before deadline day from America, he was ordering me, Graham, and Ryan Uber Eats. And because he couldn't get there, he's like, "Right, listen, how can I help you, Brian?"
Yeah,
what can I do? In the cold, breakfast, lunch, dinner, done.
My worry with it all, we'll do what's needed. My worry with it all is the same as always, Brian, is that we've got so much of this fan base, and we see these people in the streams all the time that are just so happy that we finish fourth. We have so many people in the fan base that think finishing fourth every 2 or 3 years is success. Then you've got clubs like Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City. They don't see that as success. Yeah, they see that as a vehicle to move on. They see if those clubs finish fourth, they're disappointed. Yeah. Yep. If we finish fourth, our fans see it as, "Oh my God, but look where we were in the 90s." And you just think, sometimes what's the point? Now, I want to bring something up. Now, I think we talked about this earlier. I want to show this to anybody in the chat. Is this here. Now, yep, I'm not once suggesting, Brian, that Enoch have been here for all of this.
Correct.
When you look at the FA Cup, you take 22 out of 10 out of 32. That's a huge chunk of the time.
Yep.
The Europa League, 22 years out of 38. Community Shield, I'm not knocking them for not winning the league. There's bigger clubs than us, but we've won nothing. These numbers are embarrassing.
Well, you've got to remember, up until 1991, that FA Cup was known as Tottenham's Cup. Yeah. When the year ends in 1, we win it. You go back in the history, and this will never be ever broken. So only non-league teams that ever win the FA Cup, that will never, ever be broken. Obviously, football was wildly different to where it was back then. Lucky for when the year ends in 1, Spurs were known as a cup team. You used to fear Tottenham. If you got Tottenham in the FA Cup, you're like, "Oh, shit." Especially if that year ended in 1. You'd be like, "Oh, here we go. And we were a cup team. There's no denying it. We were a cup team. Like from when I started watching football, again, the 60s, 70s, that FA Cup, we were the first team to win it 8 times. We are the first team to win it 8 times. And that was 91. Arsenal, I think, had 5 or 6. They're now the record holders with 14. 14. And this is during a time where they've gone through shit. They've done stuff. Literally as well, so when we won the Carabao Cup, there was a thing, and I'm going to have to find this clipping. When Man City took over, or the owners took over Man City, it was the year we won the Carling Cup. And it showed how many of the big 6 and what trophies have they won. And with us with 0, Man City had like 7 or 8, 9 trophies less than us. They're like 15, 16 ahead of us now. They were 9 behind us.
Exactly.
This has gone on, and you look at it, and unfortunately, I went to Forest away the day I arrived from Toronto, and the only good thing about it was I got to see Ben and Simeon and Danny Kiriakou, who I went up with. But I got to see Ryan Isaacs, I got to see Billy Carnes, I got to see Ryan Kern, got to see Andrew Cooper, got to see Miles' brother, I got to see Big Dell, all people from my group, and that was the highlight. I just got there, I hadn't seen them for ages. Hey, how you doing? Hug, blah, 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 blah. And I had people coming up to me, Brian, when you next time we are on TV, just don't have a heart attack, don't go. And then as we were leaving, I was like, go get that bastard and go get him now. That was that's what it was. This was a genuine cup that we could have gone for.
Yeah.
And do you know what? Even if we had gone out, but we'd gone out like the other teams, playing the youth, or rested a lot of the first teamer or first teamers to give the youth a chance, to give the Premier League players a rest. But no, Nottingham Forest rest Dean Henderson, Gibbs White. They played Sergio Aurier, and they battered us.
They changed 9 players from the game before. We'll come back to that just quickly. Tom, big up to yourself, my man. Hope you're well. Thanks for the super chat. He said, Wayne Holland speaks more sense than most Tottenham fans I've seen. His views on our club are spot on. He's not even a Tottenham fan. But listen, love Wayne Holland. I've actually invited Wayne Holland to my main Spurs WhatsApp group. And he gives good, valuable outsider, if you know what I mean, Wayne, no disrespect, outsider perspective on Tottenham Hotspur. And he can't believe it as well. Like, he can't understand how a club that are meant to be as big as we are, with the revenue we have, this, that, the other, he can't understand the way we act. He can't understand how Leicester City have won an FA Cup and a league in the last 6-7 years, and Spurs haven't won a league since 1961 and haven't won the FA Cup since 1991. So if you've got fans of other clubs not believing it, but yet we've got our own fan base believing it. Let me just ask everyone in the chat. Please just put in just yes or no in the chat. Does anyone think Daniel Levy has done a good job, Enoch, Levy, Lewis, whatever, on the Spurs, on the football side of things? Does anyone think they've done a good job in the 22 years?
Whilst you're waiting for that, Sam, I just want to say, and it's a quick plug for my channel, what Tom's speaking about as well, what we did yesterday on our show, we had a fan call-in show, and me and Ben were doing it with Ryan Isaacs, and we had people coming in, and we asked for people that were Levy in, Levy out, Levy on the fence, don't support Tottenham and don't give a shit, but want to give your views. And Ben Kaufman came up with the absolute inspirational and brilliant idea of having Wayne come on first to talk about the difference between Leicester's owners and our owners.
Yeah.
And not only that, how he sees, as an outsider looking in, who's got no horse in this race, to see. And you know what? Everyone loved what he had to say. So if everyone hasn't seen it, go check Tottenham on Tour's video last night and just watch that. Wayne comes on after about 15 minutes and stays with us for about 20. And he talks about Leicester and how they've been run and what they do and how they operate and how their relationship with chairman and fan is. He even speaks about the chairman just walks through Leicester during game day and takes photos and sits and speaks with the fans. Could you imagine what would happen? I mean, Levy wouldn't do it in the first place. Never, ever. I mean, if you did, you'd probably pass out going, oh my God, there he is. But if Leicester do something wrong, they will speak to the fans and say, what did we do wrong? How do we correct it? They will do various other things, and it's how a club should be run. It's how a club should be run. there's no communication with this club anymore. There's no AGM because they don't need to hold one.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to think about the trust, whether you think they do a good job, whether you think they do a bad job, whether you don't care, he refuses to speak to them now.
Yeah.
Refuses to speak to them.
This is it. This is interesting, isn't it? Discovered an interesting bit of information on Slavia Prague. They won the Czech title in '96 and didn't win their next until 2008. Guess who their owners in between that trophy this period? The difficulty is this. You've got to want to win things. It's not.
I think it was the Man City owners. The Man City owners owned Dinamo Zagreb, Slavia Prague during that time. That's why I didn't win anything.
The thing is, right, you've got to listen. I get this a lot from people where does this entitlement come from? I don't think there's any entitlement in any Spurs fan that we should naturally win something. My point is that we don't try to win something. Yeah. If the board gave if the board gave managers the type of squads that Man City and Liverpool have had, right? If we made signings like those clubs and we didn't get over the line, then you're having a different conversation about managers being unwilling to unable to make that happen. But there's no entitlement for me to win trophies. But we've never had a drought like this. We've never ever had a drought like this. We've just gone through our first decade, 10-year period of not winning a single trophy.
Yep. This is what you got to look at. So, like I said, the stats. These aren't even you and me talking about money. These aren't even us talking about net spend. This isn't even. We are talking about cast iron facts that are here, and there's no getting away from it. There is no excuse. A club like Tottenham Hotspur, who have won every decade, then having a decade without, it's embarrassing. And like I said, you know what? I kind of look back at myself, and I'm embarrassed and ashamed of myself because you got to remember we enjoyed singing to Arsenal 8 years and you've won fuck all. 8 years and you've won fuck all. And we sang that like as soon as they went out of the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup or European Champions League and couldn't win the league, your season's over and you won fuck all. And I'm looking at it. We've now gone 15. Do you see one Arsenal fan or a section of them going 15 years and you've won fuck all? They may say we won the league in black and white. True. They may say we won the league at White Hart Lane. True. But they don't even bother to say, everyone's, I mean, mate, when you see, even we're talking about Porto Sport in Lisbon, mate, I went mental at that guy that tweeted and put it on his Instagram as well, that Portuguese fan after we lost the Sport in Lisbon, who starts singing Tottenham get battered at the Dots, at the goddamn Dots. And it's in Ali Pali, which is Tottenham territory. They are singing Tottenham get battered everywhere they go.
Just quickly, let me address this, Brian. I mean, first of all, party. Listen, cool. You're on the fence regarding leaving ENIC. Tell me why. I'd love to know why. What I never seem to get from Levy fans or ENIC in fans or whatever you want to call it is a coherent argument as to why. Yeah, I mean, I get what they've done from a business perspective, but we're football fans, right? This is what it boils down to me. We're football fans. I don't care what the stadium is worth. I don't care how much money they're going to make, how much it was worth when they join and what they sell, because all that matters is that for the 22 years, if they left right now, 22 years of failure, they've just been a couple of guys making themselves very wealthy while the rest of us are sitting here not getting any success. I haven't. Who's been attacking Levy in fans? I've not seen it. So if anyone can tell me.
So listen, let me, because I'm getting sick and tired of this. I really am, and I don't mean this at you, party after party. This is just what I can't stand is people saying Levy outers are being offensive to everyone. Well, I can categorically state, if they are, I don't stand with them. This is not what this is about. But this is not a one-way street. This is not a one-way street. You don't know the amount of abuse I get, especially seeing that not only am I very, very vocal on social media, I'm very, very vocal on these streams. I'm an easy target. People know my social media. Listen, but rather than even just say, do you know what, I don't agree with him, come for me. Like I said, I don't know if you're here, party after party. I've had a friend attacked because of her sexual, her gender, and been told that your husband beats the shit out of you, and you sit there and take it and love it. I've had one of my closest friends called out for his sexuality. I've had people call out. It's a two-way street, and it depends. If you put it this way, if you're Levy out, you're getting it from Levy inners, and you will see that more because you're Levy out, so you see it going that way. But if you Levy in and you start arguing with people or debating, you're going to see more Levy outers coming in and doing that. This is not a one-way street. This isn't. We got told as well that when we were protesting for the NFL that we were being violent. We didn't raise a finger to it. In fact, the police for the NFL, they actually came and sat with us. A couple of them were from Sheffield. And sat, so what's this? And they're talking about saying, yeah, I don't know what's going on in your club. No violence. We had people saying that we're drinking loads of alcohol. I can vouch for about 7 or 8 of the people I was with that are recovering alcoholics or don't drink for whatever health reasons. There was alcohol, yes. Being obscene, no. Drugs were being done on the street. Yeah, because that's what you do in front of 62,000 in a heavily policed area. You crack out the Charlie. You start. This ain't Canada where you can just spark a joint and walk down the road.
Yeah,
there was none of that. And then apparently the best one that I heard was that the Levy outers that were standing out there were being wildly anti-Semitic. And I'm like, yes, I was being very anti-Semitic to myself. I was calling myself a yid. I was going the nonsense that comes out. Listen, I know it's both sides, and I know some people, and I don't mean I know them, but some people will get very, very rude and offensive. But it happens on both sides, so I can't. Whereas I know it is happening, I can't have it being said that it's just Levy outers going for Levy inners because that is wildly inaccurate.
And the thing is, I mean, listen, as I've always said to people, I've got nothing against anyone who's leaving ENIC in. Do I agree with them? No, of course I don't. But I don't automatically go, oh my God, I hate that person or they're an idiot or whatever. I'm still waiting for, I mean, about 3 years ago when I had maybe 2.5, whenever it was, I had my old channel before I stopped that. And I invited a couple of ENIC in, if you can call them that, people onto the chat. One of them was someone I'd never got on with before on Twitter, Gav North, right?
Oh, Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
But to be fair, he asked for my number one day from somebody, called me, said, we've got to stop all this round on Twitter. It's stupid. And isn't it funny when you actually speak to somebody and you get to know them, they're actually a good person. You just got different opinions. So he agreed to actually come on the show and put across why he thinks ENIC and Levy have done a good job. And you know what? It was a really good chat. Do I agree with him? No. But it was actually, I had a newfound respect that people were actually able to have that conversation without saying you're entitled, without saying you're an idiot, without anything. Pete, big up yourself. By the way, just before I read this super chat out, you'll see I've been making some of you moderators. I've just realized I do not have enough moderators on my channel. So if you suddenly find that you are a moderator, please just be sensible with it. Don't just block everybody. It takes a lot for me to want to block someone. So please don't just block them because they said something you disagree with. Peter said, it's not even about not winning trophies. It's the complete lack of desire for this club to win anything from these owners. And I think the word in there is desire. Right? It's do I believe that we're going to get new owners that come in, Brian, and make us win a trophy every year? Of course I don't. Man City won't win something every year. Yeah? Liverpool don't every year. Chelsea don't every year. But what they do is when they're not winning, they go and build and come back.
Yeah.
I want to see what Pete said there. I want to see desire. And just quickly before we go on to that, I think we've got, is it Stel in the chat? Is that?
I imagine Stel in the chat. Yeah, big up Stel.
Stel, so big up Stel. He said, our fan base is the problem. Some get upset when I say this. I've just been on We Are Tottenham TV to call out ENIC and Levy, and a fan paid money for a super chat to say Stelios is an Arsenal fan. Well, I mean, We Are Tottenham TV will be happy making making a profit off of Stel being called an Arsenal fan.
Well, this is the thing. We had they have a lot of Arsenal fans. There's some Arsenal fans that send super chats into We Are Tottenham TV to slate Tottenham, and I'm like, Where's the logic? Where's the logic? I
Do
just
you
want to
know
talk
what,
about Pete Super Chat. Pete Super Chat. I said it with you last week, Savva, and it's something I'm sticking to and I'm standing by. The difference between, like you said, with these teams that don't win and whatever, as I said it, when they're asking why is it happening at Man U that the Glazers are, and they're rallying it up, and Arsenal they're rallying it up, it's because they've been up the top the whole time. Their supporters don't just crave success; they demand it. They demand it. We crave success, but it's like we demand. Our demand is we'll get top four and rebuild and have 50 million in the next window, but now it's 30 and sap. That it's fine. We can sit there. There's 62, but we have boxing and NFL. Look at that multi-purpose stadium. That's that. We don't demand success. We want success. We crave success. We don't demand it.
Absolutely. I don't demand success. I demand. What I do demand is off of a club that charge us what they charge us, that have been here for nearly quarter of a century. How many owners in world football have been in their club for that long? Does anyone know? I mean, I'm not an expert on who owns.
Play that again.
How many owners in world football have been at a club for as long as ENIC? I mean, Barcelona have changed hands. That's slightly different models out there, but
yeah,
I don't get it. By the way, Ian, great chat, said the Darlington FC fans raised over £2 million since we reformed in 2012 to help keep the club running. Not bad for a part-time fan-owned club. Yeah, listen, hats off to them. And this is why fan voice is so important. And the problem I always think we're going to have, Brian, through any kind of protest, anything, is I just truly believe that at the moment, ENIC out, Levy out, whatever you want to call it, we are in the minority. I truly believe that. When you go to the ground, so many people seem so happy with their sausage roll. They're happy with their beer that fills up. They'll be in the ground 2 hours before the game, buying drinks in the Beavertown bar and a bar. 2 hours after the game, drinking. It's just that's all they're doing. It's feeding the owners. There's not enough being done for my part.
Yep. No, you're right. Like I said, there from the tensions like we've been talking about, it is growing now. Now, what is left to be seen is, does Levy and ENIC and Paratici, let's say, put another rabbit out the hat? And if a rabbit out of the hat is pulled, do people reset the clock and go, Daniel, thank God I knew you'd do this? Or is it like, right, it went to extreme levels again before action was pulled or action was taken? Now, you've got to look at this. I honestly, and this is my honest opinion, I think January we're fucked. I think we're totally and utterly fucked. I think this is really going to be a big problem. I would love, mate, I'm exactly the same, and Shabbat Shalom to you. So yeah. Hi, I know that, brother, I know. But yeah, as I was saying, I don't think January is going. I don't think this is going to get any better. I think we're going to be linked with players again that won't come off, that won't happen. And I think this time the pressure, seriously, I think if January is the kamikaze clusterfuck that I think it's going to be, then we cannot take our foot off the gas anymore. It needs to be ramped up. Listen, January is January. What's happening now? Listen, I said it on We Are Tottenham TV. The window hasn't even opened. I'm fucking sick and tired of it already.
Mate, listen, do you know what? Here's the thing for me, right? The difficulty is if we finish fourth this year, people will come back onto shows like ours and go, see, all is good. We finished top four. And I truly believe this, right? I truly believe it. And I know fans won't agree with me because they want Champions League football. I think the worst thing that happens to this club was like last year when we scraped top four. Because for me, it papers over so many cracks the word fourth. We got fourth. And moving forward, that top four is going to become so difficult. You had four. You had four that only ever got in it. Then there's five. Then it's the big six. Now Newcastle have decided that they're going to make it a seven. At what point, what do you think needs to happen, Brian? on the pitch? What do you think needs to happen for people to wake up?
Joe, I think it's got to the part now, and I don't know if people in the chat will agree with me. I think it's gone past what goes on the pitch. I literally think it's going to come to Newcastle spending whatever they spend, and I'm not talking about hundreds of millions. I think Newcastle signing some superstar or stars to help them get their Champions League football and showing it the speed that deals get done. You want that much? Okay, done. Bye. See ya. Let's go. These clubs around us keep buying these stars, and we keep going for ones for the future, or haggling, or bartering and offering instalments, or messing about with players out. I think what goes on the pitch now, regardless, I think we've passed that. I think we've passed that because people won't listen. If we, like you said, if we get top four again, then they go, "Hey, we made top four, wicked! There's going to be more money to come in. We'll spend big. This will be the summer. This will be the window." Now that Conte signed, if he signed, we've still got to address that situation. Doesn't matter where we finish right now. We don't even know if our manager is staying. With that, we don't even know if our star striker, one of the best in the world, don't know how he's been blocked. And how can you be blocked? But yet,
yeah, okay, I love this. When were you blocked, John George? And my name's got 2 R's in it. It's not Richie.
So you look at it. We don't even know if Conte's signing. Harry Kane will be in the last year of his contract. Hugo Lloris will be another year older. If Conte does go, does Kulusevski, Romero, Bentancur think, what the fuck am I doing here? There's all this uncertainty right now. And that's even before I talk about what's on the pitch. Mm-hmm. And what we've got, what's on the pitch right now, defensively is inadequate. Midfield, we don't know how long it is for Bentancur's injury. Richarlison, we don't know how long that is for. So we've got that. And like I said, for me, it's going to take these teams flexing their muscles and buying real quality and real talent that will walk into their squad or certainly get onto their bench and make their bench look healthier. If people could honestly say, when you look at that Brentford game, forget the result. Look at that bench. All right, Romero went back.
Absolutely shocking.
Romero went back for the World Cup. Conte, sorry. Romero went back for the World Cup. Bentancur was suspended plus injured. So you look that, but they'll walk into the team. But then 2 of those inadequate players that started at Brentford are back on the bench. The bench is shocking. The bench is ridiculous. So it's going to take these big clubs to act like big boys and spend the big money whilst we're haggling over whatever it may be to save 2, 3, 4 million. And it'll be like, oh, goodbye, Champions League.
Do you know what, right? Like, I'll say this again at the risk of being absolutely ridiculed by fans. And first of all, big up Wayne Holland with the super sticker. Big up. And that picture makes you look very, very dapper, by the way, Wayne. Lovely picture. I'll say this at the risk. I feel like people have always got me wrong when I talk about Conte. You know, I've always maintained I don't see the point in a man like Conte being at a club like Tottenham. Now, yes, the answer is yes, but they've got to back him. And of course, they've got to back him, hence why we hate them. But, mate, I can only see the longer he's here, that there's just going to be more unanswered questions. At least when we haven't got a manager of the caliber of a Jose or a Conte, I don't really expect a lot, right?
Yeah.
But the difficulty for me is when you bring in a manager of Antonio Conte's caliber, whether I like his football or not, completely irrelevant. When you bring in a manager of his caliber with Jose's caliber, and they don't back him, what does that tell any incoming manager? Let's say Conte walks, Conte sacked, whatever happens, let's just say he's not here. Spurs then go and speak to Luis Enrique, a serial winning manager. And they say, Luis, we want you to come. Other than a 15, 20 million pound a year salary, what's going to make any manager of that ilk go, yeah, I can do what Jose didn't. I can do what Conte didn't. What's going to make them want to join?
I will listen. If Antonio Conte does go, if he does go, why anyone, like I said, millions and millions? Do you know what? These football managers that we're talking about, if it was a Luis Enrique, let's just say, even if it was a £15 million a year contract, trust me when I say Luis Enrique doesn't need to work a single day for the rest of his goddamn life.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the money. It's not like me right now, who's been unemployed a lot since COVID and could really do with I've got a job now that I start a week after next. It's like, I would need the money. These men, why would you want the stress? You go there thinking, I'm going to be the man that turns Tottenham round.
Yeah.
Well, Jose weren't. Conte weren't. And now you're seeing, beforehand, we you know what? We overachieved with Poch. Poch, no one could see that coming. Love him dearly, and what he did is exceptional. You look at Harry Redknapp. Harry Redknapp had never really had a big team that he was competing in the L. Yeah, he did very well with West Ham and got them their highest position at the time and everything. And he nurtured youth like Ferdinand, Joe Cole, Carrick, Defoe. He did, but he never worked with anything like this. Martin Jol, AVB had done very well at Porto.
Yeah.
But obviously, went to Chelsea. All of these managers have come and tried to crack this nut and tried to get Tottenham over the line. Some of them have got us very close, maybe not in the league, but to a cup final, a Champions League final. And every single time when we get there, and it's like, God, just push that little bit more, and then we're good to go. No. And I honestly cannot see if Conte goes. If I was an elite manager, and let's face it, not any manager that comes after Conte is a downgrade, whether you like his style of football, like the way he does interview, anything about him. Antonio Conte is up there on the peak of the top of the mountain with very few managers. He probably stands up there with, I'd say, obviously Man City, Klopp and Guardiola, and probably a couple outside that. But they are the three elite. When I think of elite managers right now, maybe a Zidane because of what he's done at Madrid with the Champions League.
We'll have to disagree on this one, Brian. I'm going to be honest. I don't put Conte anywhere near these managers. I feel look. Listen, what I agree with is he's won things, right? But what I said, I maintained this from the start. Brilliant. Bring him in. And we can say we don't care about the style of football. Great. But I only don't care about the style of football if he's winning things. If he's not winning things, now I care about the style of football, right? But it's all a double-edged sword. Just quickly before we go into that a bit further, Shane, I believe, speaking to Peter, said, Pete, dead right. Newcastle owners are ambitious and it's filtering through the team and fan base, and look at them now. Our owners offer us nothing. Do you believe that I don't want to go into the Conte conversation because for me, Conte's a now issue or a now conversation. The owners are the bigger picture, right?
Yep.
What would it do for Spurs to get? I mean, I'm not talking about Newcastle's owners, but I don't want to get into kind of how people have made their money. But what would it do for Spurs to get like a Man City owner or a Newcastle owner or a Chelsea owner where they come in and they buy, and they keep trying to win things? What would that do to our fan base's harmony?
Repeat that again so I can process that question for me,
Yeah.
Savva.
So in terms of, look, we get a Todd Bowley who comes in and buys us. We get the owners of Newcastle or Chelsea or Newcastle, whatever. Forget where the money's come from. I don't want to get into a human rights bloody conversation.
Yeah.
What would that do for us as a fan base? What would that do for us in terms of bringing harmony? Everyone's singing off the same hymn sheet. What do you think that would do?
Well, you know what? Again, it all depends where these owners come from, because this is the thing. People need to do their research and find out how Joe Lewis made his money and see what happens in Argentina before they start talking about other things. Listen, I would love. I don't care who buys us. I don't care. I'll be openly honest. I've said it from I don't care. People say, "Oh, you can find someone more frugal than Levy and Enoch. We could go on it could be worse." I was like, listen, what you're talking about is net spend and try. I want goddamn silverware, and I don't see. I'm willing to give someone another 22 years in the hope that they can win more than one trophy. I couldn't give a fuck where the money goes. Well, that's technically a lie, but I don't care if it's Arab money. I don't care. I don't care. This isn't the day of football. Ben Kaufman even said it when we were on our stream. He's like, listen, I have an Apple phone, which is probably made in China or somewhere in the Middle East by people by kids or whatever. Some of the clothes we wear, we may not know. The morality thing has gone crazy. It's silly. I understand this. You look at, and I'll speak. Savva, we spoke about this with Newcastle, and I spoke about it on Henry Wright's show when we were together on it months ago. Newcastle United owners have come in, take away what they do in Saudi Arabia and all that. I don't want to talk political at all. What they have done for Newcastle is absolutely outstanding. They came in with all this bad reputation. I can't remember if Eddie Howe I think was in place before they came. Didn't say right now we've got all this super money.
No, they hired him.
Okay, so they hired him. Let's do it that way.
Fair play to them. Yeah, they hired him.
They hired him. They could have gone, right, we're going to go get a Pochettino or whoever it may be. We do that. There's that. No. Okay, what football do you want to play? Matt, listen, the players they've brought in, again, as I said with Graham Potter, who left from Brighton to Chelsea. Eddie Howe at Bournemouth has never had to deal with the big egos, the superstars, the world stage, or have billion-pound owners or trillion who are just like, right, you've got to win. He's never had to deal with any of that. He's come in. He's spent wisely. He's dealing with players that have, I think Bruno, because I can never say his fucking surname, has been without doubt outside the top 6 the best player I've seen in the Premiership. He's been absolutely outstanding. Sven Botman, we were linked with. What they have done for that football club, everyone thought, they're going to flex their pecs, they're going to splash billions, and here you go, they're going to outbid everyone. Look what they did with James Maddison. Put in 2 bids. Both bids were rejected. Okay, we've got money. This is what we think it is. We'll see you later. We're not going to mess around. We'll go get another player for our manager. Mm-hmm. We don't even put a bid in. Don't even put a bid in. And then you look at Chelsea. Chelsea have come in. That guy Bowley looked at Spurs, but apparently Lewis and Levy wouldn't listen, or Levy wouldn't listen. Lewis wanted to, whichever way you want to look at it.
I've heard that Spurs have actually held talks with companies that they're open to selling the club, but what they're asking for apparently is just absolutely astronomical. And if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, I mean, I get it. They're businessmen. You want to make a profit. But I'm hearing that they're asking in the region of £6 to £7 billion for Tottenham Hotspur. Could be true. Could not be true. I don't know.
Well, what I've heard is it's 4 to 5, but also Joe Lewis a couple of years ago, I think end of Poch, he wanted out. He wanted out. He wanted to sell, but there's a bald-headed, four-eyed parasite that owns 30% of ENIC. That was like, no. We carry on. And do you know the other thing that really pisses me off with this man, and I don't talk about it enough, is he claims he's a Tottenham man. He claims he's a Tottenham fan, and I have never seen a chairman with so much lack of enthusiasm and passion at a game in my entire life. Newcastle owners jumping up when a goal scored and all this. Arsenal doing the same. Chelsea with Abramovich. Bournemouth, Stoke, Crystal Palace. You look at them. Their team scores. There's passion. There's, no matter what you do when you look at that parasite, it's this. Harry Kane just scored the winner in the North London derby. The guy don't move. There's no passion. There's no love. There's no commitment. There's no desire. There's no nothing from this man.
Yeah. Listen, I agree. Just quickly on what I don't agree with. Sorry, I like Bentancur, but if it was a choice between Bentancur and Bruno Guimaraes, I'm taking Bruno Guimaraes all day, every day. He can do things. He's just everything we lack for me in midfield. But, I mean, we celebrated as the Royal We as a fan base. Abramovich has gone. Let's watch Chelsea now. The geezer just spent, $250 million in the summer. He's now just bought Nkunku for another 66. They're looking at 105 million for Fernandes. Now, does it guarantee instant success? No. But look at the squad they're building. It's like, can you imagine? Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough. Can you imagine having an owner that does that? You know, what I love is we belittle these clubs all summer. All I heard from Spurs fans was, "Oh, you know, Liverpool are dead now. Chelsea are going to be gone. Arsenal are awful. We've left them in our rearview mirror. Newcastle won't be good. Ten Hag's going to need 3 or 4 years." If we acted like those clubs, our fans would be delirious. If we went out today and went, Enzo Fernandez, 105 million, none of our fans would go, "Oh, well, it's a lot of money to pay for it." You go, "Yeah, bring him in." Right. And Nkunku, 66 million. 66 million for Nkunku. And I saw Spurs fans go, he wouldn't get in our team. And you're thinking to yourself, like, I don't know whether it's it's almost like a self-sabotage thing. To make the pain easier, we belittle everyone around us that's doing what we should be doing.
Well, the thing that annoys me, and the thing that really annoys me with that, when they say Nkunku wouldn't get into our side, okay, maybe you wouldn't, if that's your view. But what the point is, Chelsea need a striker, and they would have spent 66 million to strengthen their team in the area they need. That's the point. I don't care if Nkunku would get into our squad. I don't give a shit. What I do give a shit about is Chelsea have a need for forward lines after having Havertz being not the best, Werner being an absolute, Lukaku, shit. We have a problem at striker. How do we fix it? Let's go buy one of the best talents out of the Bundesliga, 66 million, bang, 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 bish, bosh. Done before anyone can move, ready for July.
Yeah.
We need defenders. We need defenders like they're going out of fashion. What I would have loved to have seen is after Brentford go, do you know what? This defence is shocking. Hincapié or whatever. Even let's go back to Bastoni. Oh, he didn't want to come to it. He didn't want to come to England. He did. Do you know? He may have said that. But if you had offered, if Inter Milan had said £63 million and Tottenham picked up the phone and said, Inter Milan, £63 million, and they accept the bid, and then he flies over to England and has to talk to Antonio Conte, the manager that made him a championship winner. Then he looks at the stadium, then he looks at the training ground and thinks, you know what? I might not have wanted to leave Inter Milan, but this is... I don't care that they bought Gakpo for 37 million. They're like, oh, he wouldn't even get the Tottenham's team. I don't care. We're not worried about our forward line right now.
Yeah,
we're worried about our defence. So before you start bitching and saying, "Oh yeah, but he wouldn't get in the Tottenham team. Oh no, I wouldn't take him. He's not better than Kulu." We know that our forward line, when fit and firing, is probably one of the best, if not the best, in the Premier League. Maybe not in Europe.
When fit and firing, I've not seen these three fit and firing for a very, very long time, all at the same time. But the thing for me is this: when you look at it as well. As you said, forget, would Nkunku get in our team? I mean, first and foremost, I think if anyone's seen Nkunku, then the answer is emphatically yes. But imagine being a Chelsea fan. It's not even that they're going to be happy enough buying players in this window. They've already got Nkunku to look forward to for next season. They're planning. The players they're bringing in, Fofana, Badashili, 21 and 22, aren't they? Centre-backs. 21, 22. Years and years you've got them. They're not bringing in stopgaps. They're not bringing in a 32-year-old that can play for a little bit. You know, they've got succession planning going. You know, sooner or later they'll move on Jorginho, they'll move on Kante, they'll move on Kovacic, and they'll go and buy the likes of Fernandes in midfield or a Jude Bellingham it's just constant. Spurs seem to just be in this perpetual cycle of never wanting to change. Never. Højbjerg is going to be in this team for about a decade. I'm not knocking him, but it's what we do. We get a player, we never evolve. Well, not
only that, we play Højbjerg for every minute of every single game, and we knacker him. Just quickly, why you got Tottenham away? Stell. If it's Stell or Iggy, whoever it is, I think it may be Stell. Listen, that guy, that C or whatever it is, he is a complete, total and utter troll. Don't even waste your breath, brother. He's trying to rise to the bat challenge. It's not, mate. It's not even worth your precious seconds typing a response to him. Just lob him off.
Claude, this isn't true. yeah, the market is becoming inflated, but that's because of more money being in football than ever. The smaller clubs will always, it's always been that way. In any market, in any sport, the smaller clubs have less money to spend than the big clubs. That's nature. That's the same at any walk of life. Millionaires will have more money to spend on their house than I will on my house. It's that's the same way it's always been. But for me, it's not just about having loads and loads of money. It's about having a plan and spending it wisely. For me, I said in the summer, Richarlison, for example, it felt like there was no plan behind that signing. It was just, he's become available, let's go and get him. Does he fit into the ethos? Is he what we need? You know, and now I'll do this, right? He's 60 million, right? And Nkunku's 66 million. Look at the levels. Look at the levels. That doesn't even take a good scout to do that. I don't think any of us need to be an official scout with years of experience to know Nkunku's a better footballer than Richarlison. But yet they'll go and make that good deal happen, and we've gone and done something that's become available. I just don't get. I don't get how we work. I don't get the ethos. I don't get the. I just don't get it. I don't understand. I've said this all summer. I've said this for 15 years. What are we doing?
I honestly don't. I honestly don't know. I don't even know what else there is to say. It's like, again, I'll talk about when I was on Ben and Simeon's show earlier on today. They even said apparently the plans are we're going for a right wing back and a forward this season, like this January, and 2 defenders in the summer. I'm like, but the defence is the big problem now. So why don't you get the 2 defenders in now and then visit the right wing back and the forward? It's just everything we do. You're scratching your head and being like,
yeah, exactly.
And I have to say, Wayne Holland said it best as he does. He says Daniel Levy is trolling us. That's literally he's at home sitting down, going, I can't believe I got away with this one. I can't believe I managed to do this. How many more times can I do? Just standing there laughing.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, I was on with Ransom Bands a couple of hours ago, and he has fans from all clubs in his chat, right? It's not just aimed at one fan base, and they were all laughing, because they were literally saying to me, "Oh, Savva, you don't even seem angry about Spurs. It just seems like you're resigned to the way it is." And I was like, I am. They've crushed it out of me. I don't expect to win things anymore. I don't expect big signings. Like when a transfer window comes around and people go, "Oh my God, the window opens." I can't remember the last time I was excited in a window. It doesn't excite me. We'll be linked with a million names. We've seen it already. The window's not even open. We're linked to a million names, and then it comes out we've got 30 million spent. And you think to yourself, why do fans then still buy into this? Oh, we're going to get Maddison. We're going to get Bastoni. We're not. We simply do not act like that, Brian. We do not have. It's the appetite to act like that. Like it's the appetite that Levy and Lewis could turn around and go, you know what? Look at what all the other big clubs are doing. I'll tell you what. Just for this one window, let's stick in 250 million of our own money. Let's go and buy 3 top players. And you know what? If they did that, Brian, I think I speak for every Spurs fan, Enoch in, Enoch out, whatever. I think then even people like me, people like you, people like Stell, people like Henry, Danny Kiriakou, all the people that really hate Eunice, all the people that really hate Enoch. If they turn around and did that one window and gave the manager 3 to 4 top players, we then turn around and go, okay, cool. All right, you've done your bit. Now we're over to the manager. Now we can't go after we lose games and after each show, we can't turn around and go Enoch, because they've done their bit. But at the moment, we don't do that. And we've got fans, though, that think they do. That's the worrying thing. Best window ever, I heard in the summer. What? Grown men and women saying 8 or 9 out of 10. Sorry? For what?
Yep.
I'll get
when you look at it, you look at it. This happened. Like I said, this magic. There seems to be 2 magics with Daniel Levy. 5 is the magic that we're always 5 million apart, and we have to spend 2 weeks of a window getting 5 million down to whatever Levy wants it to, and 7. And I say 7 because every time we have a big influx of money, we have to buy 7 players. Gareth Bale, £86 million. What do we do? 7 players. Did we spend that wisely? Did we spend it on quantity over quality? Once again, yes. Then again, 150 million pumped in. And I asked Ben this yesterday, and I said to Ben, if I said to you now, you had those 7 players, or we spent £75 million per, sorry, we only had 100 million of it. Let's say we spent 50 million each on a defender and a right wing back, or a defender and a striker, but they were like walking to the first team. What do you want? 7? The one Perisic, and they're all scattergun, or 2 people that come in and go, my God, Spurs have just signed 2. Like, these people mean business for Tottenham. And I wonder what people in the chat say. Would you rather have had the 7 that came in, or spend 50 million of the 100 million each and just got 2 players? Because I know I'll take 2 players every time. Spend
100 million on centre halves, right?
Yeah.
If in this last window we hadn't got Richarlison, right? We hadn't got Basuma, we hadn't got Force, fine. But give me some centre halves that can play football, right? Yeah. If you look at the free, I want to come to this comment in a second as well. So take it in for a second, Brian. Sorry, that sounded very dictatory, didn't it? You know what I mean? Just, the 3 times we've gone out and bought 7 or 8 players in a window, right? The first time was the Bale money.
Yeah.
Right? And from all of those, you could argue that Eriksen worked out massively. I don't really think any of the others really did. Lamella was around for a long time, but I don't think worked out. Chadley did. He was okay. Then you got the second lot of 7 that we bought, which was under Jose. Again, people going, but he's been backed. What with?
I forgot 7 under Jose. Yeah.
Joe Hart, Doherty, Roden, Gedson Fernandez on loan, Vinicius. That's not backing. And then we've just done it this window as well. And people really do get confused with quality and quantity. I can guarantee you at the end of that window, no matter what Conte said and whatever I think he should have said in public, he must have been sitting behind the back of his staff going, we've not addressed anything. We've not addressed the issues. Just quickly, this is what I expect from Tottenham fans. This is the typical Spurs fan comment. None of the big clubs worry about these things. None of the big clubs. 13 games for Benfica in a decent World Cup. 120 million is very risky business. He's 21 and hardly proven. Yeah, but do you know what? If they get him or not, let's assume they get him, Brian. If it doesn't work out in a year, 2 years, what will Chelsea do?
Sell him, wrap it up, tear it up, and say, right, this was a wrong move. Look at Lukaku, 100 mil. But then what you've got to look at it as well, party after party, is 13 games for Benfica in a decent World Cup run. He's only 21. Yes, but believe me, when we talk about it, like I still look at it. I remember back in the day when Newcastle broke the record for Shearer at £15 million. Alan Shearer was £15 million, and that was proclaimed to be like wildly, like, oh my God, how a football team spending £15 million on a player. It's what's happening now with this with the supply and demand, and you have these big teams that will pay the big money. You got to remember, 105 million is absolutely nothing to Chelsea. Absolutely nothing. It's nothing in the grand scheme of things. Yes, when you talk about buying someone for 105 million, it's wild. It's wildly over the top. But this is where we are in football today. But Chelsea will put that in. They get Champions League money every single year. They get to win the Champions League a couple of years ago. This happens. This will happen. And you know what? It just goes to show Chelsea will take that risk for the manager. We've taken that risk with Ndombele, which was a couple of YouTube clips, and he did well against Manchester City. Why don't we go and offer 60 million to a player that you know has done it in the Premier League, or a player that's doing it top Europe at the time? A 60 and go, do you know what? 60 million pounds, not for someone that's young and is a real prospect of going forward. No, that guy's had 3-4 seasons of smashing it. 60 million, 70 million, bang. No, we can't, because we won't spend it, but the money's there.
Do you know what, right? So, as I said, my brother-in-law and my father-in-law are both Chelsea. So it makes seeing them wonderful, as you can imagine, sitting around talking about football. And I was with him the day that Nkunku was announced. right? And I turned around to him and I went, "Oh, you've signed Nkunku." He went, "Oh, good." And I went, "What? No more reaction than that?" And he went, "Well, we buy players all the time." Like, do you know what I mean? For them, it wasn't a wow. It was a cool. All right, cool. Bring him in, because they've seen player after player after player after player. We get excited about Frank Kessie.
No, you know what it is as well, Savva? What it is as well, we got to remember what Chelsea do. Why they might do that as well. Yes, they sign players all the time and they do that. But when Chelsea go in for a player, it's Chelsea after a player. Chelsea bid for a player. Chelsea sign a player. We put in a bid. We're wildly off the price. Levy's at the case, Barter in or Paratici, whoever it may be at the time. But normally, let's take Spence Levy. We'll haggle over 5 million. Oh, it's down to 4 million. Oh, just do the deal. Oh, it's down to 3 million. Oh, just do the deal. No, Middlesbrough are getting pissed off. No, this club's now coming in. That club's now coming in. Spurs now haggling. So, mate, it's like literally once we sign a player, it's like, oh, thank God I can breathe again. Even, mate, Jan Vertonghen took 6 weeks. George, Kevin, and Kudu
wasn't he like
4.5 weeks?
Wasn't he sort of chained up in a hotel room somewhere for a month?
Mate, the stories with him, and even Clinton and G. These deals, it's like Spurs are bid for, and you're like, okay. You look at it. I mean, the two deals, and I can talk both of them. Liverpool, Van Dijk. Yes, they did a lot of work in the summer. New Year's Eve, we went to bed, or we woke up. Liverpool put down £75 million cash because Southampton asked for £75 million cash. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, he's at their home game at Anfield holding a fucking Liverpool scarf. I was watching the Filth versus West Ham, as a lot of people were. Romano, Gabco are in advanced talks before the second half kicked off, before full time. Here we go. Chelsea, out of nowhere, here we go. Because they go in, they pay the money, they don't go, right, how can we screw you over? And how can we make this drawn out for so long that the manager can't look at other targets because we're so wrapped in negotiation for this one. So let's just drag this one a lot longer. It's nonsense. I can understand Chelsea players going, yeah,
but
we
also, can we just make a point on this, right? These are professional football clubs, right? I don't believe for 1 second that Chelsea, look, they haven't signed him yet, but we'll see, right? We know, look, one thing you know is if they want him enough, they'll get him, right? If they want to make the deal happen, they will. They're not Tottenham, right? They would have, the whole world would have known about Enzo Fernandez, right? It's not a new thing. People might not have heard of him until the World Cup, but football clubs would have. These players will know who the best young players are in the world. There's a whole community of any team with good scouts will have been watching him the same way that every scouts across the world would have known, like Dortmund with Jude Bellingham. How would they have known about a kid who plays for Birmingham City? You know, one thing I want to talk about, Brian, is apart from how we belittle other clubs for, like, I hear throwing money at it, but that's the only way to win things. Lots of talk in the chat at the moment is about Harry Kane. And look, this for me, I mean, when we first started talking about this maybe a year or so back, not me and you, I mean, in general, it was like, oh, God, Kane's only got 2.5 years left. It's now becoming very real. It's now at the point where, shit, he's got 1.5 years left. Before we know it, it will be, he has got 12 months left on his contract. All of the stuff that's going on at Spurs at the moment, I'm not a believer that Kane only stays if Conte stays. I don't believe there's a correlation. I've said that before. But Kane seeing what's happening with Conte, Kane seeing that we're not buying top players, if anything, forget how we feel as fans, our best player will be looking at this and surely thinking, why am I going to sign a contract extension? Surely. I think he'll be mad, Brian, to sign a new contract. If I take my Spurs hat off, I'd love him to, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't if I was the best goal scorer in the country and one of the best goal scorers in world football. Why on earth am I staying at Spurs?
All right, I don't know if I'm no anger a lot of Spurs fans right now. I don't really care. If I was Harry Kane, I'd run for the rooftops. I would run as far as I fucking well can. Harry Kane, do you know what? If Daniel Levy's been very lucky with him, as has Poch and other managers, it's not just if Harry Kane hadn't come out of this woodwork and done what he did, God knows where we'd be. Yes, we have Pochettino. This isn't just Levy and Lewis. This is all the managers that have had the privilege to work with what is an elite, world-class footballer. He has always said, club match my ambition, I stay. It's that simple. You match my ambition, I stay. He loves the club. And if you look at it, throughout his career, he probably has a target set by the manager, by the owners, fire us into this position, get this amount of goals. Assists have obviously creeped into his game over the last, or not creeped, become a huge part of his game in the last few years. He hits his targets every single year. Every single guy, even the year where he was shit because of the Man City thing, the second half of the season, he was absolutely incredible. And this gentleman's agreement, this, that. Now, I understand that he loves the club. I understand he wants the Premier League record. He is going to get Jimmy Greaves' record. Let's face it, he's going to score more than 4 goals in the second half of the season. Hell, he could score more than 4 goals in January. He could score more than 3 goals against Portsmouth. If he scores a goal on Villa, oh no, we've got Palace, but he could break it very soon is what I'm trying to get at. But right now, you've got to look at it and say to yourself, I've got all the personal accolades. I've been England captain. I have an England World Cup boot. I'm going to be England's World Cup record goal scorer. I'm going to be Tottenham's all-time record goal scorer. But when I sit back and I look at my personal accolades, I've got them.
Yeah.
When I look at the reason I came into this game is to win titles for a team, not individually. And you know what? I look back at this now, and if you look at it, and you look at this generation, and I want to say Hugo Lloris in that generation. I want to say Walker and Rose. I want to say Vertonghen and Alderweireld. I want to say Dembele. I want to say Heung-min Son. You can say Christian Eriksen. Dele Alli.
Stop naming great players we've not replaced.
No, but I want to say these players that are going that won't have won a trophy.
Yeah.
It is criminal that these players have not won a trophy at Tottenham Hotspur. And you know what? If I was Harry Kane and we don't get back this January, I'd be having words right now, or at the end of January, and I'd be saying, Daniel, listen, we had problems last summer, or whatever it was a couple of summers ago. We're going to have a big problem this summer, because I would run. Because you also got to remember the final thing I want to say about this. The final thing I want to say about this is this parasite, this lying, bald-headed parasite. After the whole Sol Campbell Judas fuck up, his words, not mine. I will never, ever let a star player leave on a free transfer again. Well, he saved himself with Christian Eriksen because Christian Eriksen went for 20 million. He's dicing with.
Was it even that much?
Well, that was the fee. Whether it turned out to be that much,
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like 11 million or something, like peanuts. But
whatever it was. But if I was Harry Kane and we're not back this January, as much as I love this football club, as much as I would die for this football club, how many more times we talk about Conte trusting Dyer, and how can we say and going mad that does he really trust him? Does he trust him? Or if you do trust him, how you reckon Harry Kane trusts what that man upstairs is saying? You really think with the way we're acting, we may have only 30 million? Oh, wait a minute, I thought there's 50 million in the bank. Oh, we're gonna do my contract. Oh, Conte's got everything that comes out when it comes to the footballing side. Once again, here we go. No, there'll be no money. I'm sorry, Harry, we can't do that. We thought we'd have an influx of money coming in. We thought the Champions League would pay millions. It does. We thought the Premier League TV rights would bring in millions. It does. We thought these commercial revenue streams we've opened would bring in money. It does. We thought match day revenue would bring in revenue. It does. We thought NFL, boxing, concerts will bring in revenue. It does. But, we don't know where the money is. So we can't increase the team. We can't do that. But we are building a cinema. We are building skyscrapers. We are going to increase the capacity of the stadium so it can take more people. We are going to make sure that the pitch, the tracks that separate and do the pitch, we're going to make that better so the pitch changes quicker. But when it comes to footballers, players in, contracts, no, I would run from the fucking rooftops.
Let's talk about this then. Let's assume Harry Kane wants out, right? guys in the chat, girls in the chat, hypothetical game, right? Harry Kane turns around this summer and says, I will not be signing a new contract, right? Does Daniel Levy sell Harry Kane with a year to go and make some money, whatever that be, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 million for a year left? Or does he sit and let him run down and we let one of the greatest players the club's ever produced go on a free transfer? Because for me, as I said, I don't care if Conte goes, but there will be many that do. And if Conte does go, and then Kane also is gone in that window, I just can't. Can you even imagine what it will be like at Tottenham?
Well, what you got to remember as well, if Harry Kane did say, "I'm not signing a new contract," the Spurs fan base will will direct all that hate and anger towards Harry Kane and go, "Oh, Harry, how dare you desert us? Why are you doing this? How dare you? We've given you everything. Oh my God, how have you turned?" Won't be Harry Kane's fault. Won't be Harry Kane's fault. But once again, as we do, we will blame the manager. We will blame the players. We will blame the whatever. If Harry Kane says, "I'm not signing a new contract," there is one person that has caused that and directed that. Because once again, you've gone and lied again. You've broken promises again. And he'll be gone. But then what Nick Barry, Sean, Phil Grant, what he will do is he'll say, "I want 150 million for him." And we won't get that for him right now. And it'll be a price that we can't spend. And then you've got to worry about if we were to sell him, how much of that money goes back into the club. Because obviously we know that 150 million minus 100 is 30, apparently. So if we got 100 million or 75 for him, we'd probably get £3.50 to spend. I honestly, like I've said to you, I think when we started this, or about an hour ago, I think I said, I don't think what happens on the pitch is going to literally be the big thing that causes the mass Levy out movement. It's going to be something like Harry Kane not renewing his contract, or the teams around us severely strengthening and just going past us like a Lamborghini whilst we're in our Skoda, right, trying to get the fucking car to work. And we'll be like, "Oh, cheerio, bye-bye."
Mate, this is why I know like Conte's on a huge salary. But this is why I can't understand why he just sits and watches watches all these other clubs sign these players. I can't believe he's not walked. I genuinely, in my mind, again, I'll always caveat this with, I don't like his style, but that's not the conversation here. I genuinely do not understand how this man hasn't rung up Levy and gone, "Nah, I'm not doing this anymore. Nah, sorry, see you later. I'm going." I mean, he can't be short of a few bob, can he?
So Antonio Conte, what we're talking about, and we know with Inter Milan, he left because he was like, "You're not going to do this to me. You're not going to undermine my authority." "Oh, you are? Goodbye." And he just taken them to a title. Antonio Conte will walk. I haven't got sent a report today. I'm gonna let me try and find it. It was by a friend of mine. Where is it? He sent me quite a bit of stuff. Let's see. 1 second. Let's just try and find it. Basically, there was a part where it was by that agency HTC. I can't remember the author, or sorry, the journalist that wrote it. And it was like, Conte is now he has lost the plot with, and the word that was used in this article was Conte fuming with bizarre Tottenham transfer structure. And it is bizarre. Now, obviously, a lot of these paper talks, clicks and likes, and some of them will say Conte's delighted, some will say Conte's fuming, some will say he will walk. There was talk, even when they said that £1 million extra a year. Do you know what £1 million is to Antonio Conte? It's like us going to the pub and spending like 50 quid.
Yeah,
it's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing to him.
Let me put it in the chat. Just quickly. So this guy comes on and said this negativity is getting boring. I don't know what we've been negative about. We're talking about Harry Kane's contract, which is running down. That's not negative. That's factual. We're talking about what he will do. I don't understand why that's negative. Just because somebody's got a different viewpoint to you doesn't mean it's negative. My facts don't care about your feelings. Please remember that at all times.
You need to. Sorry, Savva. You need to add to that as well. This negative is getting boring. We'll blame the football club.
Yeah.
Listen, if you don't give 2 goals at Brentford's and not turning up at first half, what should we say? Oh, wonderful stuff! Another first half where we've conceded, not played well, done fuck all, and we have to come back and fight for a draw. Let's all be super positive about what's going on. Let's be positive that the once again before a transfer window, this club is in absolute limbo. The left arm doesn't know what the right arm's doing. The fans are feel sort of completely divided and split, and it all roots back to one man only. When there's stuff to be positive about, we'll be super duper positive.
So let's ask then, everyone in the chat, do you think Conte will walk? Simple question, yes or no, or do you think he will run down his contract? So the options are, or sign. 3 options will be sign new contract, run down contract, or walk before contract ends. What do you think he will do? I mean, look, again, like the Kane thing, I wouldn't sign a contract if I was Conte. I'd look at this and go, this is my reputation, right? The longer, and unfortunately, this is true of anyone. The longer you stay somewhere, the longer you're not winning, you're not in the conversation. The same way that Harry Kane won't be in conversations about Ballon d'Ors, right? The same, the same as with Conte. All the while he's not winning things because he's at Tottenham Hotspur, he won't be in these conversations with the Klopps and the Peps and the Sedans, and he won't be.
I think Conte's gone before the end of the season. I'm not saying at the end of January or February. I actually, if January, let me rephrase that. If January turns out to be decent, above decent, then I think he'll see out his contract and maybe sign an extension based on what happens with the rest of the season. If January turns out to be the unmitigated cock up and disaster that a lot of us think we are gonna have, I can see anywhere between February and the beginning of April that he's gone. That he'll just say, that's it, done. I can't do this. Goodbye.
I agree. We'll come back to that in a second. Just quickly, Andy, I mean, the thing is, if we're talking about the immediate, then yeah, they might not get top 4. But let's be fair. Look at the squad they're building. Football isn't about one season. I had this, I won't say who, but I had this conversation with one of the Spurs YouTuber community a while ago. And they were telling me that, for all the money they've spent, they're not that great. We're above them. And I said, yeah, but it's a short snapshot of time that we're above them. Chelsea will be back and they will win things. That's what they've done for 20 years. That's what they'll continue to do. And the problem is, eventually, when you buy player after player after player, eventually you get it right. You do.
I'm sorry. I've tried very politely to stay away from bringing up. I've got to say, Echo Chamber FC. There's been so many different names in this to just come on and say Echo Chamber FC and Levy this. Listen, why are you spending your time between Christmas and New Year? Anytime you do this on a stream, and I don't get that with anyone of any YouTube platform, that go on and just keep making accounts until you get blocked, then keep making them. Listen, there are other YouTube channels that will talk about exactly what you want to talk about. You don't see us coming in and going and making up 58 different names and saying, oh, you best do this. If you don't agree, they'll block it. What is the point? Sad state of affairs when you've got nothing to do on a Friday evening or Friday late afternoon apart from make accounts up and talk rubbish on a topic you surely don't want to discuss. So go somewhere where they will discuss what you want to discuss. Sorry, Savva.
No, you're fine. Sorry, James Hunter said, the negativity I find is your opinion on Spurs fans at large. We are not the problem. It's the board, Savva. Listen to how Tottenham Away spoke with Ben and Tim earlier. I didn't call out the fans once. Well, look, first and foremost, I'm not in charge of what any other YouTuber says. I watched that earlier. And still came across brilliantly. But, when you're saying we're not the problem, I think the fans have to take responsibility for some of it because we've got options of what things we can do and we don't do that. So I'm sorry, James, but when fans do want Levy and ENIC in and they're not concerned by what's happening, then I do think they're a massive part of the problem because for me, you can't back a regime that has historically proven they're not going to give you success and then claim you want success yourself. So I mean, you come into my YouTube comments all the time, James, talking about how apparently it's, I told you so, but it's not about me telling you so. The club have told you so. The club tell us their intentions every window without telling us their intentions. The fact that we're watching Chelsea go and buy players, the fact that Liverpool bought Gakpo before the window is even open, the fact that Nkunku is a Chelsea player next year and there's no window open, right?
Yep.
That should tell you everything you need to know. So, James, I'm cool with it. If you think it's negativity in the fans, honestly, mate, you don't have to be here. Honestly, I'm not forcing anybody to ever watch my shows. Yeah, I'm not forcing anyone to subscribe to me. My opinion is my opinion. I will always let people come on and they can talk. And just one last thing, sorry, while we're on this, please stop telling fans of other channels that they've got to go and find another channel. Yeah. That's not your decision to make, people in the chat. I'm happy. I like that other fans from other channels come in and give an outside perspective. This is open to all football fans. All right. So look, let's just keep it nice, keep it civil, and we move on. One person made a really good point in the chat as well. Some time ago, said the problem is with Harry Kane going, if he does, is replacing Harry Kane isn't buying one player, is it? He does the job. He does the job of two or three players, and that's going to be the big thing for me. If we lose Kane, let's say Kane and Conte both went, then you're trying to convince players to join a club that have just seen your serial winning manager leave and your best player leave. What sort of message does that put out to prospective signings?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. What it'll do is, if that was to happen, I'm going to do something very stupid, because my marriage will probably be over, because I'll say, honey, I'm not coming back to Toronto. I've got more work to do. And I've said to her, if this I've even said this will happen. Such is my conviction and such is my dedication and desire and passion. And I say what I mean what I say. If Conte and Kane were to walk out, or even Conte was to walk out, I'm going to be flying home May the 23rd. I won't be flying home. I won't be flying home, because enough. It's got to the point, and people go, "Oh yeah, Brian, you won't do that. You'll go." Mate, I've split up. I had a fiance before this in Israel, and I split up with her because she said to me, "You can go to a pub and watch a North London derby, but if you do, our engagement is over." And I told her to pack her bags and leave her stuff before I got back from Spurs Arsenal. So when it comes to this football club, it is too goddamn important to me, and I have spent my life loving it. And if Conte walks, then I can only vouch for myself when I say I will go. I will go to extreme measures. I will escalate what I have to escalate. This is the thing. It will happen.
To walk. I want him to listen. I know people can take this however they want. I think for anybody that is in doubt, I think if Conte walks, he will be doing more good for Tottenham Hotspur, right, than anything I think he'll achieve as a manager under these owners. And people, let that sink in before you all jump on at me. Let that sink in. I think he would be raising the awareness to the point of, where does Levy go from there? At that stage, other than having the rabbit in the hat, which is bringing Poch back to appease so many of this fan base, where does he go from that? How does he then explain to the fans that that two serial winning managers that have got, I don't know off the top of my head what Jose's got, what, 28? I don't know. 20,
so ridiculous.
Conte's got 5 or 6 or whatever it may be. How does he explain that two managers with 35, 36, 37 trophies between them have both, one's been sacked, one's walked? How does he explain that and still get the support of any Tottenham Hotspur fan? I'd love to know. I want him to walk.
Listen, this is the part where honestly I If Conte walks, whether you're Conte in, Conte out, Levy in, Levy out, Levy on the fence, whatever. With what you've just said, if you've had two elite managers, you have not backed them, you have not done, you've hired them but not given them the tools for success, and they both walk out trophyless, and they both walk out. I don't see any way that you can even show your face. I honestly, I remember, so during COVID when this whole Super League thing came out, I remember when we lost 3-0 to Leeds away, or 3-1, I can't remember the actual score. And this is when the stadiums were empty and only like the delegates and the hierarchy were there. Daniel Levy just, I think he had a power trip because he was the only person in the stadium at home games, but away games, I just don't understand. With that, I'm surprised that he could show his face. If that was to happen, I don't know. On a footballing way, if I was him, I would, and I don't mean this in a violent way at all, because I don't condone violence. I do not condone it, and I will not tolerate it. If he shows his face, he's asking for trouble. He's asking for trouble, and I mean verbally, and the abuse he will get verbally. If that was to happen, I wouldn't go to Spurs games for a long time. You've got to stop, because I know, and another thing I will say, there are a lot of people talking about going to Levy's house to protest. There's a lot of talk. There was in January. It's started to flare up again. I've seen it. That is categorically no one from the people I'm associated with. Categorically. Because as much as I will go to any extreme, that's his house where his family are. And you don't do that. I don't condone any Spurs fan going anywhere near his house.
Yeah. That's never the answer.
It's never the answer, and will make us, it will drown everything out. So the people that are, where it has been mentioned, please, for the love of God, don't. But yeah, getting back to this, if Conte was to walk, he can't show his face, in my opinion.
Can I just say, Greg, I keep seeing you say this, right? I've not once ever heard Brian say, bring Poch back.
I have said bring Poch back, but I've said bring Poch back. So, Greg, if you're going to quote me, let's quote this right. I said I would welcome Pochettino back under new owners to have new business. Under Levy, don't want him anywhere near the fucking club. I don't want Pochettino even coming to watch games to even have that chat with Levy. I want Poch to get a job right now so he cannot work with Levy. But once Levy and Enoch piss off, would I like Poch to come back, or would I accept Poch coming back under new owners that will say, do you know what, we're going to give you what you want? Yeah, I'd love to give it a go. But not with Levy.
I mean, first of all, and I'll stick up for Stel here. Stel is as pro Conte as you can be. So I'm not really sure that he's ever said bring Poch back. If Stel's sitting in the chat,
He's like me, Stel. He's like me. He is like me. If new owners.
Greg, the problem is, Greg, you always come in the channels. You can't go a sentence without mentioning Poch's name. It's like some really weird obsession. Now, I get it, right? I don't want Poch back. I think, like Brian said, I think if Poch was to ever come back, it would have to be in the future under different owners, different circumstances. But for me, I don't really care about Poch has been part of this history and now he's moved on. But you've got this weird obsession with mentioning him in every single sentence to do with Conte. I'm not really sure. Just quickly, I'm going to... Savva thinks Conte cares enough about Tottenham to walk away. Conte is only here because Levy offered him a nice paycheck after he buffed us. Listen, I've not once said that I think Conte cares enough about Tottenham. What I'm saying is, if I was Conte, I would think about my own reputation. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he can. I don't think in any way, shape or form he will give two monkeys about Tottenham after he leaves. I honestly don't. I think he'll look at this and go, I shouldn't have taken that job. That's where I am with him. Let's talk Poch while we're on the subject. Is that the rabbit? Is that the get out of jail free card for Daniel Levy? Because I've said it. It might not come true. Not everything I say comes true, believe it or not. If it did, I'd be a millionaire on gambling. But I truly believe that Conte will go in one way or another, whether he's pushed, whether he jumps, whatever it may be. And then I think Spurs fans will lose their mind for a short period of time. And then I think a majority of the fan base will lap it up when he brings back Poch. and I think Daniel Levy is very clever like that. He's done it twice before, Brian. He let go of full circle with Poch. He got rid of Poch, who was a crowd favourite, but he brought in a serial winner. Now, it wasn't to everyone's liking, but he was a serial winning manager, right? And we're not talking 5 or 6 trophies. We're talking about a bloke that's won everything in football multiple times.
Yep.
He then sacked him, yeah? And then the rabbit in the hat after knowing he made the wrong decision with Nuno was, all right, I'm going to bring in Conte.
Yep.
Now I can see it happening again. I can see now Conte will go, it'll be, right, how can I appease the fans now? What manager out there can he appease the fans with more than Pochettino? I'm not saying all the fans, but what manager could he appease the fans with realistically that isn't Poch?
There's been talk of Luis Enrique. That listen, we're Poch. If this was to happen, and Poch, let's just say Poch does come back, he does under Levy. The last 3 years have been a complete waste of everybody's time. The supporters, the owners, the scouts, the just everything. And then you look at it as well. And you know what? Someone said to me yesterday, or the day before yesterday, when the Kessie story broke, and I hadn't thought of it. And I think I said it when I was speaking to Stell yesterday. Someone turned around to me and said, Brian, when you see Kessie and people are saying, where's he going to fit in the squad? Where's he fit in the squad? Do you think there's any chance he's already buying for Pochettino for next season?
A lot of people are saying that.
And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, hold up. And then all of a sudden, do you know what? Listen, I'm going to categorically state it again. I'm going to state it just for Greg Spurs and everyone here again. And I can vouch for Stell as well, because I know Stell feels the same way. We loved Mauricio Pochettino. We absolutely, and not just being Stell, but what the things I'm talking about right now, and I don't know if Stell's still here. Pochettino was phenomenal. I grew up, and the best player I have ever seen play football, and it will never change, is Paul Gascoigne. Cool. I loved watching him. He was literally, people will know my obsession with that man. I absolutely adore him, love him. Incredible talent. But the best football I've ever seen Tottenham Hotspur play, and the best period of my life as a Spurs fan, was under Mauricio Pochettino. Going to games, we used to walk down thinking, we're winning this game. We're winning. The style of football was breathtaking. The pundits were loving us. You walked there. All right, people are still against the owners, but you can see the fans with the manager and the fans with the play. I've never seen the club so connected. Never seen it so connected. Mm-hmm. When he got sacked, I was in Toronto. I was doing a meeting in Booking.com, and it came up on my tablet whilst I was in a meeting. In the middle of a meeting with some high-powered people in Booking.com, I threw my tablet right across the room and smashed it. So like, what's the matter? And I had to leave the room. It was wrong to sack him. Yes, but he needed freshening him up. He needed backing. I thank Poch for everything he ever done for Tottenham Hotspur, for putting Tottenham Hotspur back on the map, for seeing some of the most breathtaking football as a team collective that I've seen. The birth of Harry Kane, Christian Eriksen, Dele Alli, Cole Walker. My second favourite Spurs player of all time, Jan Vertonghen, who I adore. All of that was through Pochettino. He's done. He left, whether we like it or not. I categorically do not want him anywhere near this football club under these owners. Nowhere near the dugout. If he comes back to the dugout, I'm going to be really pissed off. I'm going to be really pissed off.
I just feel it's the ace. I'm not saying that for me. I'm just saying I feel it's the. I look. When you piss your wife off, what do?
Grovel.
But
grovel.
You grovel. You buy something. I'm sorry, but right. If you piss off a whole fan base, what do? I think you go. What's the common denominator across most Spurs fans is they love Poch. Right? They love Poch. They will want to see him back, whether it's with these owners or what. Listen, it might not happen. I just feel that there's so much smoke in that story, and he's not working, which I don't think actually helps Conte in that respect. Do you know what I mean? By the way, I see lots of talk with Sean and someone else about the Eric Dyer thing. Look, for me, I'm sorry, I don't believe in any way, shape, or form that if it was Antonio Conte's decision, that he would be giving Eric Dyer a new contract. I truly believe that's a club. We've seen it for years. I think we keep giving these players contracts, and I just don't believe that would be sitting on Conte. But hey, look, one thing's for sure, it's repeat behaviour. You all right for time, Brian? Are you good for time?
Yeah, bro, I'm good. Yeah. I'm good.
So what do we do? Let's say Conte walks, right? What do we then do as fans? What do we do to get the message to Levy that, come on, enough is enough? Is it just protesting? Is it not going to games? Is it not spending at the bars and the £94 fish and chips or whatever they charge for at the stadium? What do we?
Well, one thing I will say, and I saw Blue Lion 77 put it in. Levy out is trending again. It's been trending for 2-3 days now, and there is a lot of people like myself that are just retweeting anything I see with Levy out, ENIC out. I'm adding to it, and I'm putting the sponsors' names. I'm putting everything. There's some of my group that's doing it. There's loads of people that are now going. So this time is proper building. This time it's building. Now, what I have seen a lot of things now, even when I'm in the chat on We Are Tottenham TV, or even when I've been looking at the comments, a lot of people are now saying, Brian, we're not falling in for it this time. We've seen this happen before. He's doing it again. And I think people are waking up to the way transfers aren't getting done, or the value, or I think people are actually like, wait a minute, something ain't right. And the petrol is getting poured on this fire within the hour with these rumours that are coming out all over the shop. They could be put out because it could be bullshit. But people are realising the transfer rumours and whatever, and even when the club are trying to go for players and they don't put the bids in and they dilly and they dally, and they're waking up to it. And people are like, I can see this coming a mile off, like you now, Bri, like Danny, like Stel, like you. I come on these streams and tell you this is going to happen, and it happens. And I don't take any credit for it. I don't like being right. I want to be wrong. I really want to be wrong. But I reckon if that happens and he brings Pochettino back, if you'd asked me that last season, I probably would have said 55 to 65% would have been absolutely ecstatic and delighted, and they'll buy into it, and then it'll reset the clock and we'll start the countdown timer again. If that was to happen and they bring Poch back this time, I actually think this time there'll be uproar. I honestly think there will be uproar, because I think people will say, right, I've seen it. And not just have they seen it, I think for the final 3 years, they'll be like, what the fuck was this all about? Mm-hmm. You sacked him, wouldn't back him. You brought in 2 managers that need money. You didn't back them. Then you realised that you should have backed him, but you didn't. And then got 2 managers that you wanted to back, but you didn't. But what we'll do is we'll go back to this manager, and he will start bringing through the youth again. And he likes the younger players. He'll bring them through or buy cheap and develop players. But we won't have to spend the money for the big boys. And they know Pochettino will be like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, I trust you. And then once that trust is broke, it will become that long, dragged out thing again. I think if Poch comes back, there will be an absolute... I think the tide will turn even heavier against Levy. I really do now, with what I'm seeing now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm seeing lots of chat now. Is ENIC in, ENIC out. For me, I just can't fathom how anyone can support a club. And let's be fair, we're a big club in terms of history, etc., and just constantly sees the same thing over and again. I've been having chats today in WhatsApp groups where people go, well, let's see what they do this window. And I'm like, well, has the last 44 windows not under ENIC not taught us anything? Like, why is it always, let's see what happens now? Let's see what happens now. The most commonly used phrase that we can play this game, Brian. The most commonly used phrase for the next 32 days is going to be, right, I'll go first, you carry on. The first one I'm going to go with is, and people in the chat, join in, the most commonly used phrase throughout the transfer window. I'll start. Is the window's not shut yet.
Okay, I'll go with, we're registering interest.
We're registering interest. Spurs have inquired.
Okay. Spurs are prepared.
Spurs are prepared. Spurs have shown their pawns, or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Spurs are contemplating.
Spurs are contemplating. Antonio Conte has told Daniel Levy.
Daniel Levy has told Antonio Conte.
Right. Spurs are 10 million short of X's valuation.
We could easily do that by going down the millions, but I won't go that easy. Spurs are yet to make official move. That's happened.
I just want to see. So I've got a super chat from Tom. We'll come back to this. Tom.
It'd be nice to see what people have been saying in the chat. That will be the funny one.
Happy wife, easy life. Let me go through. Sorry, I'm sorry. Here we go. Let's go through. This is what I find hilarious. Like, it's the same behaviour year in, year out, isn't it? Like, if I had an employee working for me, right, that was doing the same thing over and over again, and then every time I had an appraisal with them, I had to tell them off about something. At what point does it then become my failure for not seeing that this isn't changing? This is the way they are, right? This is what they do. So we've got supposedly, Spurs supposedly, we're linked. Spurs, the poor stars. Thinking of bidding. Yeah, absolutely, Phil. This is a great one. Yeah, can't do it all in one window.
Oh, I love that one. That's a good one, Phil. That's a real good one.
Junior Mafia, bang on, mate. We don't want to do a Leeds. Well, as I showed you,
can you do it? Can you tell Junior Mafia, my man, this is going to blow your mind.
So I put this up the other day, and Junior Mafia, what I said was, if you see in the last 10 years how much money Tottenham owners have actually put in of their own money is zero, right? And then we said, look, even clubs like Sheffield United, who haven't been in the Premier League for about 8 years or something, or whatever it is. And what I actually said was Leeds have stuck in 127 million of their own money, as you can see here, right? And what I turned around to Brian and said was, Leeds, since we've put in a penny of our own money, Leeds have done a Leeds, i.e. we don't want to do a Leeds, come back to the Premiership and put in 127 million more pounds than Tottenham Hotspur. They've done that. They've done a Leeds and then added all that money.
But that includes 16 years in the Championship, 2 years in League One. They've come into the. Do you know what? I still laugh every time I hear that. Every time I hear someone going to be the next Leeds, I can't wait to use it.
Yeah, Spurs are set to have talks. Spurs are cooking. Yeah, Paratici will be cooking as well. Sources have said, yeah.
Oh, that good old.
Leandro Demel, love it, Ben. Spurs are hiding in the shithouse. Spurs have agreed to open discussions. Yeah, we've agreed to discuss. Yeah,
the Spurs have verbally agreed to discuss. That's the one that I love as well. We verbally agreed to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. Spurs sign was. Spurs are very close to signing. Conte is crazy about XYZ.
Yep.
With a view to summer signing. Yeah. Spurs have registered interest, but it can't happen this window. It needs to be the next window. Conte has told Levy to F off. Oh, God. He's talking about Poch. Talks are at a deadlock. Yeah, there's one. January transfers are difficult to complete. Yeah, unless you're Liverpool, Chelsea,
or any other team under the Premier League umbrella.
Tottenham have put their feelers out. Yeah, Tottenham are looking at. We've watched him for years. I love this. I think they have already got the January signings you'll see next week. PJ, I hope so, but I don't have any hope that the signings they're going to sign are actually going to be any better than what we've got and what we actually need. Spurs are mulling over making an inquiry. Here you go. Robert, he's coming with a different perspective. His legacy means you've accomplished a milestone, but has Poch? I like Poch. It's like the lot. It's like the lot thinks Messi is a GOAT. Losing perspective of Pele accomplishment, Mbappe has a better chance of becoming a GOAT. There's a lot to take in there, Robert. We've got Messi, Poch, Mbappe, Pele. Rest in peace.
Pele. Rest in peace, Pele. Rest in peace.
Again, January's not an easy month. Just quickly before we move on, please, I haven't actually asked once this show, please smash that like button. There's just under 300 of you in here, 107 likes. So it means 2/3 of you have not liked. Please go and subscribe to
Tottenham on tour.
Tottenham on tour. Please subscribe to anyone else who's in the chat that's got a YouTube channel. Subscribe to Sean at Spurs Talk Show. Subscribe to Stel and Iggy over at Tottenham Away. Subscribe to Henry Wright. Subscribe to
Ben Coffee Shop.
Ben's Coffee. Subscribe to as many people. We're all Tottenham. Kuvra said, without doubt, my favourite lately has been Spurs will loan with an option to discuss.
That's it. There's loads. We're gonna play transfer window bingo. Everyone, when you hear a brand new, you've got to let us know via social media or Twitter or when we're on YouTube. If you hear a brand new Tottenham Hotspur transfer line, I need to know them all. I need to hear them all. They're just hysterical.
Sean's coming and said, I think it's reasonable to wait until February the 1st before the noise. Before the noise, it's where it's at currently. I remember the same thing happening 12 months ago. We ended up with the best January window ever. The problem for me is we already know. I hear this line every single window. When we're talking about the best January window ever, let's be fair. It wasn't planned. This is my point. It wasn't planned. If it was, we would have got them in at the beginning of the window. We went back to our director of football's old club for 2 players they didn't want. For me, I want to see us from the 1st of January be proactive. Go in and who do we want? Go and get it done. Because we have got so many games in January. I don't want to wait until the 31st of January. Sorry, we'll have to disagree on that one, Sean. I always hear the wait until the window shuts. I heard it all summer.
No. Listen, I spoke to Sean today. Sean gave me a phone call. We're speaking about it. Listen, this is the problem where we're at. This is the problem where we're at the moment. I was talking to him about the training ground protest, and obviously we were gaining some serious momentum, and there were sub headlines in papers. It was getting across Twitter, and then obviously the rabbit got pulled out of the hat like Daniel Levy does with Kulusevski and Bentancur, which totally kneecapped us and completely reset it. I think the difference from this year is obviously there was a £150 million injection, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. Conte is happy. Conte will, and at the moment we're here again a year later, and this shit is happening again. But what is happening this time is the big teams are making big moves, and Newcastle are now very much in this equation. Chelsea under their owners. Remember this time last year, the what was going on with Russia and Ukraine, which is still going on. We knew Chelsea were going to be in shit. They're not in shit.
Just before you carry on, did you know that Bob was in a coma?
I did, apparently. I mean, I flew back. I was trying to find him. I could never see him, though, because, he was...
Sorry to hear that, Bob. I didn't know that. Sorry, man.
So I know it's breaking news, isn't it? You should get, when Bob says that, you should get that the Sky News
I'm expecting Sky Sports News to break it later. Breaking news, Bob Spur was in a coma.
But this is the thing. Get back to Sean. This is the thing, but this is why training ground protest, everything, it's not getting done till later. But what is happening right now is the situation. I think if you go back 12 months and say what situation was worse, where we were 12 months ago, where we were now, I'm saying it's right now. That's the best one of the lot you just brought up. But yeah, this is. I think we're in a categorically worse state than we were last year. Ourselves as a club and what's going on around us.
I think we've got to take that into account. I think when again, like with the whole patient, like people say, be patient, and we're doing this. The problem is the teams around us are not being patient because they're winners, and if they're not winners, they're trying to be winners. For me, I feel like we're kind of in this halfway house where we're watching others around us, and it might not be this window. As I said before earlier, Chelsea spending this money doesn't guarantee them fourth this year. But for moving forward, you think next year they're going to be starting the season with Nkunku, Badashili, Fofana, Koulibaly, Reece James, Chilwell, right? You know they're going to buy possibly a Fernandes, another forward. It's building. We don't even know who our manager's going to be in a month's time, let alone which signing we're going to have starting in the summer of 2023. Yeah, it's not just Chelsea. Newcastle, we know they're going to make big strides. It might not be this window, but they've put themselves in a good position with some good players. They play once a week. They're going to go big. Arsenal are showing it. Arsenal lining up the likes of Mudryk. That's a big move.
It's a huge move.
If they
It's
pull
a
that off,
huge move.
We can't just sit around and hope that every time, last January was great. In the end, it was great. We got 2 players relatively cheap. It's not always going to happen, is it? It's not always going to happen. You've got to pay at some point. So for me, no, Sean, I get it. I know it's not open, but the thing is, it not being open hasn't stopped the other clubs. This is what I mean. They've moved. Look at what Man U did. Look at what Liverpool just did. Everyone knew, and Ten Hag has basically said it, that they wanted Gakpo. Look at what Liverpool just went and done. Bish, bash, bosh, done.
So what you got to remember as well, and what you got to remember with it not being even open yet is, do you know what? If this had been, we know what happens with this football club. If I had any faith that once it opens, that means all Spurs are going to make moves and ripples. You got to remember the amount of games we've got coming up. We've got Crystal Palace. Forget Villa because no one will be in for Villa. Palace away, which is a very, very hot one of the games that I fear the most whenever the fixture list comes out. I hate Palace away. It's one of those games where I'm always worried. Then we got Portsmouth in the FA Cup, which we should easily get by, but you can never underestimate. Then you've got Arsenal. Then you've got Man City away. Now, if you remember last season, even let's just pretend the North London derby we knew it got moved, but last season when we signed Bentancur and Kulusevski, why couldn't that have been done ready like these clubs are ready for first game of the season? So both of them could have played in a Carabao Cup semi-final and helped us get to a final. Mm-hmm. We played Chelsea in the league and got battered at the league again. They could have helped with that. And if the North London derby hadn't been moved because the Gunners had run, that would have been the filth as well that they wouldn't have played. We have big games, and those we started at the beginning of the conversation, Sean, showing the league table. And the league table ain't lying. And by those games, by the time we play Palace, the filth, Manchester City, we could seriously be out of the top 4.
And I think one thing as well, you've got to remember, if we look at Gakpo, for example, Gakpo can play for Liverpool, not tonight, but their next game, which is Brentford. He can play. The moment that turns January the 1st, Gakpo can now step in. Now, I'm not saying he will necessarily, because Liverpool are blessed in that area. They will always score goals with Núñez, with Diaz, with Firmino, with Jota, with Salah, Carvalho, but it gives them options. Now imagine last year we'd had Kulusevski and Bentancur from the 1st of January. Yeah,
exactly. We
might not have lost. I'm not saying, the semi-final we lost to Chelsea in January. We might not have lost that. Right? Yep. That for me is the difference between going and getting some business done early rather than, for me, I think, listen, I'm not knocking that window, but it was very, very lucky. It was very lucky that they pulled that off on the last day. Look, I don't know. For me, I just want us just for once just to be like what we've just seen Chelsea do with Nkunku.
Well, you'll be waiting a long time.
But can you imagine, Brian? Can you imagine right now we sign an Nkunku? How excited are you already for next season?
It gives you belief. It gives you. If we had signed now a couple of players and said they were coming in the summer, like if we weren't, I'm just going to pick this name out, Bastoni. I'm just going to say Bastoni. I know it's not going to happen. But if we had heard that we got Bastoni, he's signed, he'll deliver, but he's coming in the summer, I'm like, now we're talking. Now we're talking. He is signed, sealed, delivered. Nothing can go wrong. He is a Tottenham player come July the 1st or whenever it kicks in. That's something to be excited. That's something to cling on to belief that you are identifying and bringing in the quality to do it. It's just,
it's speed as well. Like this person said, it's speed. For me, and Robert's made a good point as well. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Absolutely. Not every transfer is going to be great. But what I've always said, Robert, is I love these clubs that I don't love these clubs. I love their attitude towards it. The attitude of let's go and get it done. It doesn't work, we go again. At Spurs, there seems to be a huge fans use it as an excuse. I'm sure the club do. Oh, well, remember when we did buy big with Ndombele? It didn't work 4 years ago. Like,
yep.
You've got to move on. And that for me shows they did this with Luis Diaz. They fought Spurs. Well, Spurs were in for Luis Diaz. Liverpool went in, bish, bash, bosh, done. No messing about. And that, for me, is what Levy and Paratici have got to do. Like, 1st of January, we're not going to announce anyone, right? You know it deep down. Right?
Well, we'll have Daniel Levy say, I want to announce it's January the 1st, and the window is now open. And that will be that'll be that. Mm-hmm. It's open.
So everyone in the chat, please put in what date do you think we will make our first transfer? Brian, you tell me, everyone in the chat, put in what date. I'm going to go the 19th. And I think it will be a loan.
Okay. I'm going to go... just want to say big up to Robin Wolfman. Thank you very much indeed, my friend. That means a lot to me. I think Spurs, and I've said it, I think it's January the 29th. January the 29th, we enter talks. Come in, Levi. Sorry, one of my nephews. Levi, come in. You want to say hello? So, come in. Say hello.
Hello.
And now say leave me out.
Leave me out.
Good boy.
I'm with you, my man. I'm with you. I'm with you 100%.
I'll be down in a sec.
I've lived for the day that, and to be fair, I thought we were actually, what I'm about to say, I thought we were actually doing it in the summer. By the way, guys, we're going to go for 15 more minutes. So if you've got any points you want to raise, put it in the chat. When we signed a couple of players early on in the summer, you think you allow yourself for a brief moment, just for a brief moment, you go, hang on, are we acting like a big club here? Hang on, this is great. And then slowly but surely we revert back to taking, how long did it take to get Jed Spence from Middlesbrough? Baffling. Absolutely baffling. How
he's doing wonders for us, isn't he? It was worth the wait. It was worth the wait. It was worth the haggling over 5 million. It was worth everything. We've sorted that right wing back situation out finally. Delighted. Great. Worth it. More of it, please.
I suppose a part of us lives in hope that they will surprise us. A part of me lives in hope that one day I'm going to turn on Sky Sports and that little yellow bar going across at the bottom will go, Spurs have signed, Spurs have signed Mudryk. Spurs have signed, someone quality. But you just know it will be really underwhelming. Like, all right, if you bring in Frank Kessie, all right, it's another defensive midfielder and we've got 5 of them already. If we bring in Traore, all right, do we need Traore? But that is what I believe Tottenham. I believe we will get Traore this window.
I want to have it timestamped here. So we've been going 2 hours, 22 minutes, 55. Let's do it first. So when it says 2 hours, 23 minutes, so I know I can timestamp it. 2 hours. Okay. I guarantee you that this January transfer window will announce another partnership revenue stream before we sign a player. We'll have another official, God knows, popcorn or ice cream or whatever. I guarantee it. That will be announced during this January transfer window before a player.
And we don't do any business, and then with about 2 days of the window to go, we announce that someone signed a new contract.
Oh no! Listen, there is a player that's going to sign, and I'm not counting him as a signing. Kulusevski will be announced, and that will show you how bad. They'll announce it in January. Oh, we signed Kulusevski; it's now permanent. Well, it was going to be permanent if we got top 4. He plays a certain amount of league games in 5 months. But let's go. Oh, okay, and then everyone will go. Oh, he's officially ours now. It's wonderful stuff.
It's like a new signing.
Like Romero. Do you not realise why Romero was announced later in the window? Because it had gone all quiet after we had that massive splurge in the beginning. Sorry, it got all the way to where it's getting a little bit quiet. Oh, well, look, we signed Romero. That was an obligation. That was getting done. But we'll announce it right near the end to go, oh, look, there's 50 more million of that money gone. Well done. Let's congratulate a player we were obliged to sign.
But Kia 45, my issue with Kessie isn't. We talked about this earlier in the show. My issue isn't Kessie as a footballer. My issue is that, again, it's not signing what we need. That's the point. It's at what stage do the scouts, do the board, do the manager and the owners sit around and go, right, what do we need? Yeah. And let's be really, really honest. At the moment, it's not another central midfielder, unless that midfielder was a player like a Maddison, which we know we're not going to pay that money for him. But I've got nothing against Kessie coming in, Kia 45. I haven't at all. I just don't want it to be Kessie and only Kessie. And then once he comes in, everyone's going, oh, we're so bad at the back. Well, yeah, because you're not addressing what the issues are. I have
to say, just quickly, Reload, big up Reload, has just come out with the best comment of the entire stream, which says the transfer deal will be announcement, Paratici to Italian prison on a 3-year deal.
Oh, don't. It's
that's the best. Honestly, he's on fire. That's that does tickle me.
First signing will be a promising 16-year-old from Port Vale. Hey, Port Vale's youth team is probably better than ours, so we'll see what. Look, it's just, I know a lot of it is tongue in cheek. Some of it's tongue in cheek, and we do laugh about it, but these are patterns that we have got used to over the years, haven't we? You can always tell when a contract extension is going to be announced. Spurs, they do this kind of thing where it gets to the last day of the window, haven't signed anyone, and then we announce that you get an email through about come and do the Skywalk 50% off, or Lady Gaga sign a new 10-day tour at White Hart Lane, and you kind of get used to it, don't you? You kind of nothing surprises you at this club.
No, it's like I said, the definition of insanity is how do you phrase it again? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting it to be different or whatever. It's what it is. It's just insanity if you think it's going to be different.
Yeah, and that's absolutely the thing. Guys, we're going to go for 10 more minutes only. Getting any questions, please please subscribe. I'm going to do a shameless plug here. I am sitting on 2488. I am 2489. I'm 11 subscribers away from 2,500. And I'm about 4 months ahead of my plan. So please, if you haven't subscribed already, 11 of you out of 251, please smash that like button. Robin has said he heard Fabrizio Romano on another Spurs channel. Conte himself isn't sure about his future. I don't, Robin, I do not blame the man at all. I do.
He did an interview Last Word on Spurs. I haven't watched it. I don't watch them. That's my personal choice. There's so much to watch, and I'm very selective with what I watch. Nothing against him or anything, but yeah, he was on there. Romano will be doing the rounds this January. And listen, you hear it from Romano and you think, okay, there's some legitimacy to it. But we all know this. We all know Romano isn't telling us anything different.
He's not told us anything that we weren't unsure of. You know what I mean? It's not like we'll go, what? Conte's not 100% happy. I mean, anyone knows that, right? Steve D has said humour is all we've got left. Look, I think you've got to have a great sense of humour, and you've got to be able to laugh at yourself if you're Spurs, because other clubs laugh at us, and I can see why. And I know some Spurs fans will say, "Oh, I can't believe you said that about our own club." But I speak to my Arsenal mates, and their worst form for like the last few decades, they were still winning FA Cups and League Cups. Our best form, for the last 2 decades saw us make some finals, but not win anything. So you've got to laugh. And are we getting to the stage, Brian? As I said, we're going to the last 10 minutes now, but are we getting to the stage where we've got to get this monkey off our back, so to speak, in terms of a trophy? Because 15 years is just way too long, right? I was young, skinny, and much better looking the last time we won a trophy.
Mate, I was still drinking. I was still an alcoholic.
It's amazing. It's amazing that you've not gone back to that. Mate, being a Spurs fan.
Trust me, I've had my. I had one very, 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 very close call, and that was to the Champions League semi-final, where I didn't go to the pub, and thank God I didn't, because I had to take some time off of work. And if I'd gone there by the first half, I'd have had to left the Scotland Yard because they won't serve me. They know, and I'd have got hammered because of the way we played and were getting spanked. But then if I stayed for the second half, oh my God, you wouldn't have seen me for 3 weeks, because I got absolutely off my nut because of the result, the way it ended. But yeah, when I say, listen, I'm very proud of my accomplishments being sober. But when you start, you know how you can relay music to a certain time period, or I can always revert back to my sobriety on certain moments and everything. And I can remember getting absolutely shit-faced when we beat Chelsea in the Carabao Cup or Carling Cup, whatever it's called back then. And when I look at it, that's like 14 years, that's like a decade, almost a decade and a half. Well, 15, it is a decade and a goddamn half. Without a solitary trophy. A solitary trophy. And then I hear people saying, I mean, like I said, I hear people, we got to these finals. Whoop de goddamn do. What have you got to show for it? The program, the official program. You got the experience. You got depressed. Oh, I remember that. I was so depressed. We lost. We got to the final. But I with the monkey off the back has to come off.
It really does, doesn't it? And this is the thing. This is why when people say it's not all about winning trophies, it's bragging.
Exactly.
It is about winning trophies, right? If it wasn't about winning trophies, why compete? Like, I get it, right? I understand that there's clubs that are never going to win trophies, lower down and this kind of whatever. But we can't. Look, let's wrap the show up there, Brian. Look, great chat as always. Just give me a quick prediction. Spurs Villa.
I've said it everywhere. I'm being these fans now where I'm not going to go in and saying we're winning every single game just because it's Spurs and we're at home. I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm going down like Bob Spur always says 4-1, 4-1, 4-1, 4-1. I've gone down the road where I'm going to predict a draw, and then if we win, I'm delighted. But if I do it the other way around, I predict a win and we get a draw, then I'm absolutely pissed off. So I'm going Desmond. I'm going 2-2.
I think this is going to be a tough game. I think that they look. I know Liverpool's beat them 3-1, but I was actually impressed with some of Villa's play, and I just worry about anyone running at our back line. I think it'll be 1 or 2-1 to us. But listen, nothing surprised me anymore. One thing you can guarantee, I'm going to put my mortgage on it, is Aston Villa will score first.
Oh, we got a 1-0, 2-0. Let's come back kind of ethos all around it, hasn't it? Put it this way, I trust the attack. I don't trust the defence.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Brian, we've got to go. So, everybody in the chat, thank you so much. We'll be back on Sunday night, New Year's Day, for the Spurs review. Let's, join us. Please like, please subscribe. I'm 11 away, 10 away from 2,500. Please subscribe, please like, go and subscribe to Brian. As always, Brian,
come on, guys. So believe me, there's a lot of Levy out content coming your way and a lot of content coming your way from the boys at Tottenham on Tour. So yeah, Tottenham on Tour is where you want to be as well. And thanks, Savva, for having me on again.
Absolutely. Brian, do you want to see the show out?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Bloody hell. My whole thing. Ben Kaufman is doing like this if he's still watching already. So I will say, and as always, Levy out.